B, who is still on the stand today. We may not, but we have given ourselves a little room to get started so that we can zoom past the inevitable and invariable sidebars. So law nerds, welcome. Let me know where you're coming in from. Let me know what you're drinking, and let's get rolling on this day 21. Again, half day. Trooper B, witness 55, is on the stand, and we're just going to roll right into court from here. So let's roll the intro this morning, shall we?
Hey there, I'm Emily D. Baker, the internet's go-to legal analyst, breaking down the legal side of the pop culture and entertainment stories we can't stop talking about. I'm a big fan of the cursey words. I've been a licensed attorney for over 17 years, but this is not legal advice. This is where the law nerds unite to talk about facts, not... Let's get into it.
There was quite a long bit in court this morning when it went live that was just watching the audience, and that is where my feed froze. So I'm going to cue that up again as I'm looking at where y'all are coming in from and what y'all are doing. Ooh, my throat is already giving me the business. That's delightful. That's delightful. I've been talking all morning already. For those of you that tuned in locally and heard me on Carson and Kennedy, thank you. I appreciate you. Let's get this feed back to where it's supposed to be with the jury coming in, so we can,
bring the jury.
Or hear ye. I don't want to miss the hear ye's. It's becoming my favorite part of the morning. Oh, here we go. It's the other bailiff this morning. So it's become my favorite part of court. I'm not going to lie. It's one of the things we can count on. It doesn't let us down. And we know every day we can at least take a moment to go hear ye. Just so fun. Nikki's like boring Indiana, and Neps is like northern Thailand. So, you guys are coming in from all over the globe, and I appreciate you no matter what time zone you're in what you're eating and drinking. We're starting with greens this morning, but then Dr. B will rescue me with some coffee as well. We need both. It's called balance. Oh, I flew too close to the sun. We started too early, Emily. Just let's go to court. We'll have plenty of time to chat. It's a half day today. We'll make room for plenty of time for questions, and we've got the podcast coming at you this afternoon. I'll be in the chat for that. So let's not miss the hearings, shall we? I'm very interested to see if we get to cross today. And don't worry, I will.
All persons have any business before the Honorable Federal Canoni, Justice of the Norfolk Superior Court, in for the copy of the order. Draw near, give your attendance, and shall be heard. God save the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Court is now open. You may be seated.
Draw near,
22117,
and ye
the
shall
Commonwealth
be
versus
heard.
Karen Reed. Could I have the witness, please?
So,
they're going to say good morning to everybody.
Counsel and Ms. Reed. Good morning, viewers. We appreciate your patience. Giving us this time actually helps streamline things today, so we appreciate that.
I don't believe you anymore. She says this to the jurors all the time. Giving us this time helps us streamline things more. I don't believe you anymore. Nothing feels streamlined at this point, Your Honor.
I do have to ask you those 3 questions.
I'm going to zoom. Though I do like the judge's earrings this morning.
Refrain from doing any independent research or
we're going to go to 1.25 for her.
Are you also able to follow the instructions?
Because why not? Because we can, honestly.
Did anyone happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case?
They all say no. They don't want to.
Everybody answered those questions appropriately. Okay, can we have Sergeant Bukhenik, please?
Sergeant Bukhenik, otherwise referred to as Trooper B, because the one of the witnesses had a very hard time pronouncing Trooper B's name. So we're going to go with that. Kiki, thank you so much for the super chat. Happy birthday to me on the 9th and the rest of us June bugs. Cheers to more questions and fuckery. I'm sure there. What if any fuckery will be wrought
Mr. Lally,
today?
whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, sir.
Circle back just to a couple things.
I like the tie, but the attitude's already going to annoy me. It's a spillover from yesterday. The cufflinks are good too, but
From your testimony from yesterday, going back to the video that you reviewed from both C.F. McCarthy's and the waterfall. In total, from those two videos, how many drinks?
Here's why I'm laughing. When I ended stream yesterday, at one point, and I don't remember what point that was, but at one point I said, I wonder if the state or the Commonwealth, apologies, is going to try to clean up the fact that there was clearly a miscommunication about the drinks. Because as I was taking notes, it was going like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it was 5, 6, 7, and then when they got to the next drink, no, 1, 2, 3, 4, then 5 and 6, and then he said 6 again, and then it got really confusing as to whether we were at 7 or 8 drinks. And I said yesterday, are we going to see a correction of course with regard to the drinks? And it is the first comment this morning. So here's what I had in notes from testimony on the drinks yesterday. This is what I have in my notes. We'll see what happens today. What I have is a drink with a full glass, or it seems to be a full tall glass with a drink. Could it be only soda? The jury will have the receipt and they will get to decide. But a full drink, presumably a vodka soda, at 8:58 p.m. Then a second tall glass, presumably a vodka soda, at 9:15 p.m. Then a shot added to the glass at 9:20. Then another shot added to the glass at 9:33. That glass was empty. Then another full glass so we're on 3 full glasses. Another full glass with 2 more shots before leaving the bar, and seeing those shot glasses stacked and then put to the side. So let's continue with that. I'm not surprised they're trying to fix it.
Did you observe the defendant consuming over her time?
This is asked and answered.
The video shows 9 drinks being consumed by the defendant.
Where'd the extra one come
That's
from?
between when she arrives at C.F. McCarthy's until the time that she leaves the waterfall.
Oh,
Is
the
that
waterfall.
correct?
That is correct.
And if I could turn your attention to the
So it would have been
video
8
from One
leaving
Meadows
C.F.
Avenue,
McCarthy's,
Southeast
and because she got one more full drink
videos
and
that
took it to
you
the waterfall, and then
observed,
one drink at the
let me ask
waterfall.
you first, as far as, do you know how those cameras work as far as when they turn on and when
Golden Dusty said could have been water in those glasses. The receipt is in evidence, and the jurors will have the receipt. And at the BAC that the defendant was at 9 a.m. the next morning, it's not unlikely that those were all drinks. So, it doesn't mean anything more
My
than
understanding
drinks.
is that Ring surveillance video is triggered to be recorded through motion. So if the camera detects motion,
How do you
which
know
is
that?
constantly live monitoring, and motion is detected, then that video is captured to a cloud-based system that retains that footage.
And from your review
Did you
of those
talk to Ring?
videos, what kind of motion would set those off? Like what kind of things would be recorded from the driveway camera?
Be activity in the driveway, such as a person walking through, bird landing, a vehicle.
Birds don't always trigger the cameras. Ask me how I know this. Well, Emily, because you have a bird nest on your front door, and you keep trying to make sure that everybody's doing well by making sure they're flying in and out of the front door. But that's a separate issue. So, where is the video of Karen coming back from 34 Fairview? Where is that? From 34 Fairview back to John O'Keefe's house. Where is that?
Vehicle pulling in.
Where?
Individuals, moving around in the driveway, and so forth.
And the search warrant that was applied for was any and all videos between January 24th and January 30th, correct?
For one of the search warrants, that's correct, yes.
And with respect to that time frame, what, if any, activity based on information that you had received was not available or was not shown on those Ring videos?
The data returned had video that would have been captured from the defendant arriving home after midnight on the 29th, after she dropped Mr. O'Keefe off at 34 Fairview Road. That video was not present in the data that was returned from Ring. There was
what, if any, other video in addition to that one was not present?
There was also video missing from the defendant showing Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts the damage to her right rear taillight.
I'm backing up. Sir, I know a lot of you are stuck on the bar. The jury's going to get to decide it. So the jury's going to get to decide it. And they're going to get to watch the video and decide what they believe. But I have questions about this Ring video and what's missing and why the state thinks it's
On
missing.
those Ring videos.
Wait, I'm
In
backing
all
up.
videos between January 24th and January 30th, correct?
For one of the search warrants, that's correct, yes.
And with respect to that time frame, what, if any, activity based on information that you had received was not available or was not shown on those Ring videos?
The data returned had video that would have been captured from the defendant arriving home after midnight on the 29th.
Right.
After she dropped Mr. O'Keefe off at 34 Fairview Road. That video was not present in the data that was returned from Ring. There was
What, if any, other video in addition to that one was not present?
There was also video missing from the defendant showing Ms. McCabe and Ms. Roberts the damage to her right rear taillight.
Or she didn't do it.
And what, if any, follow-up or what, if any, inquiry was then done with regard to Ring as far as those types of videos or deletion or how those videos could not?
That's leading.
Correspondence with Ring produced information
With
that
you?
Sustain.
Yeah.
Let me ask just first, was there follow-up with Ring in regard to those videos?
yes,
You
there
gotta
was.
bring the Ring
Was there
person.
ever anything produced with regard to those videos or those timeframes from Ring?
No, there was not.
You gotta bring
I'd
a Ring
turn
person.
your attention over to your time in Dayton.
I want to know if they're
In reference
deleted, but you've got to bring a Ring
subsequent to
person for
later
that.
on,
And who deleted them? Who
what,
had the
if
victim's
anything,
phone?
Did you receive, or what, if anything, did you request? What, if
Or
anything,
did Karen
you
have
receive
access to it?
from the Dayton Police in regard to January 29th, 2022?
Look, if Karen accessed John's Ring, which it wouldn't be unusual to me if she had access to it, seeing that she was basically living there, that wouldn't surprise me. If Karen accessed it and deleted those videos, then I've got a lot of questions and it changes things. So I really want to know, but you're going to need the Ring people. So
I communicated with the Dayton Police Department requesting documentation from their officers' calls for service at our request, and log notes, logs from their dispatching center, as well as any reports that would document their activity if such reports existed.
And did you, what, if any, information did you receive in relation to that?
I received a log note or log printout from their CAD system, and I received a report authored by Officer Barrows.
where's Officer
Did
Barrows?
you also receive any 911 calls?
Yes.
And who was the party as far as the
What, if any,
911
call?
in regard to those 911 calls that you received?
It was Mr. Reed.
And just
Oh,
for clarity purposes, that's the defendant's father, is that correct?
I'm
That
glad
is
they're
correct.
covering
That's
this.
from the morning of January 29th, is that also correct?
Correct.
I'm glad they're covering
Now,
this.
sir, if I could turn your attention to February 3rd, 2022. At some point that morning,
I mean, they didn't cover it much.
where did you go?
During the morning hours of February 3rd, we planned to meet at 34 Fairview Road. Myself, Trooper Proctor, and Trooper DeChico arrived at that location in order to conduct a secondary search of the area as the temperatures were turning and the snow was melting naturally. We decided to do another search for articles that were now, we realized and learned, were missing and could be of evidentiary value and aid in the, in the investigation.
And with respect to going to 34 Fairview Road, what, if any, tools or what, if anything, did you bring with you, you and the other troopers, in regard to conducting that secondary search?
I requested the troopers bring shovels, rakes, anything like gardening items that would help them to dig through the snow and locate any missing
I thought you said the snow was
items.
melting.
And
Was there still
as far
snow?
as the temperature change that you're talking about, how precipitous a change are we talking about?
The temperatures went above freezing, so the snow did begin to melt, and it was significantly warmer compared to the 18 degrees the night of the incident.
Now, you mentioned items of evidentiary value that you had learned of and were looking for. What, if any, clothing items did Mr. O'Keefe?
They moved right on
were you
Ouija
looking for specifically on February 1st?
from the ring video.
We were
and
specifically
I imagine they moved right on from the ring video because that was all done by Proctor.
looking for Mr. O'Keefe's baseball
guess.
cap.
And in addition to yourself,
So they were looking for the
Proctor,
baseball
and
cap at
Chico,
34 Fairview.
who, if anyone else, did you notify, or who, if anyone, from any other unit within the state police responded that day as well?
We requested the assistance of the Crime Scene Services section of the Massachusetts State Police, and Trooper Evan Brent showed up to assist us with documentation of the location and the evidence that we were hopefully going to find.
And from those, Trooper Brent arrived.
Different than CERT?
And took photographs, is that correct?
That's correct.
And when was it that Trooper Brent arrived in relation to your arrival?
I believe he was already present when we pulled up, but I'm not sure to his exact time of arrival.
And with regard to that day, what, if anything, in general terms, what, if anything, were you able to locate, and where was it, generally speaking?
We located Mr. O'Keefe's baseball hat. We located a drinking straw from a cocktail.
What? Excuse me. What? Where did you locate the baseball cap? Where is the baseball cap? Why haven't we seen the baseball cap? What?
Cocktail glass. We located items of plastic, colored plastic, and other shards of colored plastic at the location. All those items were located on the grass portion of the yard near the flagpole at 34 Fairview Road.
What?
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
He said they were all located near the flag, in the grass, near the flagpole. How did the first crime scene miss that, though?
Your Honor, may I have a moment? Sergeant, I'm going to show you a series of... And Sergeant, I'm going to show you a series of photos, but I'm going to break this up a little bit.
So, Mr. Lally, with your back to the jurors and the air conditioning on, I'm sure they can't hear you.
My apologies.
He's trying to tell the court.
So, sir, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some photographs, a series of them, but I'm going to break them up a little bit just to make it
Okay, sir.
hopefully quicker.
No.
First, I'm going to show you 10 photographs. Ask if you could review those, look up when you're finished.
Yeah, I want to see what all these pictures are. So, I'm very interested. As he goes through all the pictures. Christine said ring misses activity often. It's not unusual. I don't doubt that, but I think they should have someone explain it to the jury. Nashay, happy 40th birthday. I'm excited. Any thoughts as I continue on this wild life? Yes. The 40s are wonderful because you give less fucks. Stay hydrated. It's going to be amazing.
Thank you. Do you recognize those, sir?
The
Yes,
new
I do.
adventures that
And what do you
come
recognize those
from the
to be?
40s are lots of fun.
Those are photographs documented the items located at 34 Fairview Road on the grass as the snow receded through the melting temperatures that were revealed to be positioned in the grass.
And what's contained in those photographs, is that a fair and accurate portrayal of what you observed on the front lawn area of 34 Fairview Road?
The snowblower officers said they went down to basically the grass. I can understand how you can miss flat items.
On February 3rd.
Yes, it is.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm all to introduce the minutes and next exhibit.
Any objection, Mr. Jackson?
No objection.
Okay.
And if Karen did not have access to the ring, we would see it. Caitlin, not necessarily. Truly not necessarily. So we will see what happens with the ring footage because somebody had access to John's phone. We don't know yet if they did or didn't. I should say we don't know if someone had access to John's phone. They're marking all of the photos. I'm glad we get to zoom. I'm sorry the jury doesn't.
Was some of these photos for the
Yes.
Just one moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
One more moment, which is fine. We're going to go through super chats. Lady Picture Show 66 said, "Hey Emily, birthday shout out to Megan, a fellow Law and Order friend who started her battle against breast cancer this week. She's a warrior. Hanging with you and the Law Nerds has been her bright spot lately. Megan, we wish you a strong fight. Hopefully it's a smooth one, though I know it is often not as smooth as we would hope. And happy birthday."
I do.
And if you could, just for orientation purposes, describe to the jury whereabouts in relation to 34 Fairview Road we are in this picture.
As standing on the street of Fairview Road, we're looking at the left side of the yard. In the top right corner, you can tell that there is a flagpole depicted in that photograph and a telephone switch box that's open on the left side, which is on the border of 34 Fairview Road.
And if I could ask from this photograph, if you know, grass that's visible on the front lawn area of 34 Fairview Road, is that from a natural melting process, or is that from some of the tools that you and the other troopers brought to assist you in your secondary search?
The reason that grass is exposed is due to processing of the scene and having the snow being moved away from the location and then natural melting process taking place on top of it.
From
As you
y'all?
can tell, other portions of the yard is covered in snow, and the snow had not, the grass has not revealed itself just yet.
Now, as far
But it
as
was also
the
searched on the
photographs of
29th,
various
but I guess on the
items,
29th it kept
located
snowing
on the date of
overnight.
February 3rd.
So-
The photographs that were taken, were they taken
This is February
as they
3rd.
lay, or were they touched or manipulated in any way prior to the photograph being taken?
The items photographed were discovered as soon as we realized what is being discovered through the digging and excavation process. They were then photographed instantly. Certain items were revealed naturally through the melting process and the snow, no longer concealing those items underneath.
Thank you. Ms. Gilman, could I have photograph 7666? And again, sir, do you recognize what's up on the screen? It has now been marked as Exhibit 470.
I do.
And what do you recognize that?
That is a clear black and red piece of plastic.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 7669. And Sergeant, do you recognize what's now up on the screen as Exhibit 473?
Yes, that is another piece of plastic.
And towards the top middle of the screen, do you recognize what that is?
Yes, that's a fire hydrant from 34 Fairview Road, grass area.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have the next photograph, 4670. For the record, this is Exhibit 4.
For those asking the search, this search is happening
Yes, sir.
on February
Is that a
3rd.
closer-up image of what was
I don't think they said
prior
exactly what
to
time, and if they did, I
Yes, it
missed
is.
it because I was reading chat.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 7672.
Mia, I am small, so I don't block the pictures, and I don't want to go at 1.25 through the pictures.
And sir, do you recognize what's up on the screen, which has now been marked as Exhibit 476?
I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
Another piece of red taillight plastic.
And lastly, from this batch, Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 7673.
For those of you saying the grass doesn't have snow on top of it, he testified that they cleared it.
And what's now marked as Exhibit 477.
I do.
And what do you recognize that?
That is the fire hydrant and the telephone switch box located on the edge of the property line at 34 Fairview Road.
Now, the photographs that I had just placed before you, having you had a chance to review those?
I have.
And do you recognize what's depicted in those photographs?
I do.
And what do you recognize those?
The property at 34 Fairview Road, left corner towards the street, capturing the flagpole and the telephone switch box.
I don't know if
Yes.
it's getting dark
Almost to
outside
introduce
or
and
if the
admit.
photos are just crap. I
Okay.
have no ability to answer one way or the other, honestly. I think we're going to get more pictures. It's going to be a lot of this morning, isn't it? There's only about 3 hours of court today.
Thank you.
Piece of plastic.
Describe to the jury what's depicted in this photograph.
A red piece of plastic.
And
Really?
Ms. Gilman, if I could have the next one, 768.
Can you use the pointer to show us where that is, please?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
The judge also said, really?
7682. And Sergeant, do you recognize what's depicted on the screen and has now been marked as Exhibit 482?
I do.
Is that
You
the
know,
same
I'm going to see
piece?
counsel at sidebar for just a minute, please.
I really hope that this sidebar is the judge saying to the prosecution, must we do this? Can't we just admit them all? And the prosecution's going to say no. The defense is saying that this is all a setup. We have got to go through every piece of evidence to show that it is not. I don't know how effective you think they're being at that, but you know, I'm confused by the position of the taillight. I find the defendant drinking much less in controversy. But does that mean anything? Not necessarily. I still want to know how they decided to arrest the defendant.
You are unmuted.
I think the judge is like, we need to move.
I'm sorry, Ms. Gilman, 7682.
I guess we'll see.
And Sergeant, do you recognize what's up on the screen as Exhibit 482?
I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
A red piece of plastic.
These, if they are the
That's
same
of
piece,
plastic, a closer-up image from the prior exhibit.
Yes, it is.
if they are the same piece,
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have
the prosecution needs to identify it like he just did, saying this is a close-up of the same piece of plastic.
Sergeant, do you recognize what's up on the screen and has now been marked as Exhibit 484?
I do.
And what do you recognize that to be?
A white clear piece of plastic and a red piece of plastic.
And lastly, from this, sir, Ms. Gilman, if I could have 7687. Sir, again, do you recognize what's up on the screen? It's now been marked as Exhibit 487.
I do.
Now, Sergeant, with reference to the photos before you, have you had a chance to review that set of 10 as well?
Not this one yet, not yet.
If you could, please.
I'm trying to zoom.
And Sergeant, do you recognize what's depicted in those photographs?
I do.
What do you recognize those to be?
Items that were located in the street, being the black cocktail drinking straw, and then black pieces of plastic, molding plastic.
Could we see
and,
them?
Clear pieces and molding from
Could
taillight.
we see
Mayor Pro
them?
Tem.
Yes.
Could we see them?
Submitted to next 10 minutes.
Any objection, Mr. Jackson?
None, Your Honor.
Could we see them? Bingo said, but the scene was not secured. It was not. Though I will tell you, in homicide investigations, that's not particularly unusual, especially if you're in a jurisdiction where you have to wait for another jurisdiction's homicide detectives to come out. It's not unusual that scenes are searched after everything. It happens in vehicle collisions, especially in public places. So it's not the most unusual thing. But yes, the yard was not secured in any way. But CERT was also out there and didn't find this. CERT found some smaller pieces. So it's going to be which search.
Thank you.
And this jury's experience with snow. So
Thank you. Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could display some of these photographs for the jury.
Okay.
the gentleman in the blue shirt sitting at the end of this row is the victim's brother. He testified on day one of trial.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have 7688. And Sergeant, you recognize what's up on the screen?
I do.
What do you recognize it to be?
It's the wide shot of the drinking straw being found on the edge of the roadway in front of 34 Ferry Road.
Sergeant, if you could, using the laser pointer before you, if you could direct the jury's attention to where you observed that straw. And Ms. Gilman, if I could have 7689.
I would love to know with, you know, if people had taken measurements or placed down evidence markers or whatever, I would love to know the location of the drinking straw vis-a-vis where the shoe was found 2 days earlier on the 29th. Where was this in relation to the victim's shoe? But I don't think it's going to matter because I don't think anyone tested it for DNA. And so...
Sergeant, what are we looking at in this photograph?
It's a close-up view of the same straw.
It's not a stir straw. It's clearly a full-size straw. A full-size straw like the one in Karen's drink earlier in the evening.
Sergeant, do you recognize?
Oh, look, at least there's a ruler.
Now been marked as Exhibit 492.
I do.
And what are we looking at in 492?
Piece of plastic next to a measuring ruler that's provided for comparison and by the crime scene photographer to document the item.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have 7695. For the record, this is now Exhibit 494. Sergeant, what are we looking at in 494?
It's the same item from just prior, just zoomed in more, showing the detail, the black molding,
Look at that.
the clear
ruler.
clear plastic and red plastic.
Sergeant, as far as
I
those
didn't see any
photographs
marks on the
before you,
fire
have you had a
hydrant.
chance to review those?
There's a
Yes,
lot
I
of
have.
pieces of
And do you
tail light all
recognize
over the
what those
place.
Yes, I do.
What do you recognize those?
There are pieces of red plastic, pieces of clear plastic, and a piece of glass.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Honestly, Chad, I think it might be more likely that if that tail light damage was done organically, it's more likely from something hard like the fire hydrant than from a human. But I don't, it's a lot of pieces of tail light all over the place. Like a lot. Which I would like an explanation for.
Thank you.
Maybe that's just me.
Thank you very much. Your Honor, with the court's permission, if I could publish just a few of these photographs for the jury as well.
Okay.
I'm also waiting to see photos of the hat. Chat. What, if any, hat?
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 7700. For the record, this is now Exhibit 498. Sergeant, if you could describe to the jury what we're looking at here.
We're looking at a red piece of plastic next to a measuring ruler.
Yeah, the damage to her taillight is
grass
quite high up
on
her
the property
vehicle.
at 34 Fairview Road by the road.
And if you could, sir, using that laser pointer, just direct the jury's attention to where you
Is that the same one we saw
observed
earlier?
in this photograph.
Right there.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 7705. And for the record, this is exhibit 502. And Sergeant, if you could, again, describe to the jury what, if anything, of significance you noted there.
It's a shard of red plastic next to a measuring ruler.
Shard? I think he said a shard
Again,
of
if I
red
could have
plastic.
Photograph 7708. The record, this is now
LJ,
exhibit 504.
the plow just
Again,
seemed to plow
Sergeant,
down the middle of the street. That seems
laser
closer
pointer, direct
to
jury's
the
attention
curb,
to
but
anything of significance you note in this area.
There is a black piece of plastic molding next to a measuring ruler.
I don't know if there's any way to attribute the straw to anybody without it being tested in a criminal case with a lot of questions. Is the other thing an ice cube? Like, what is that?
Lastly, from this set, Ms. Gilman, exhibit, excuse me, photo number 7712. Again, for the record, this is exhibit 508. And again, Sergeant, if you could, using the laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, of significance you note in this.
A clear piece of plastic next to a measuring ruler.
That's found on the grass area as well, is that correct?
That is correct.
Now, Sergeant, with reference to that new set of photos before you, have you had a chance to review those?
Yes, I have.
And do you recognize what's contained within those photographs?
Yes, I do.
And what do you recognize that those photographs to contain?
They contain small red pieces of plastic from 34 Fairview Road on the grass area where we located the others. Also contain a flimsy piece of circular, like very malleable plastic.
Yeah, what was
clear
that?
plastic. In addition to that.
May I approach on?
Yes.
Come up, seek to introduce the witness the next 10 exhibits.
No objection.
Thank you.
And they're going through the next in order photos.
I published some of these photos for the jury.
We're
Yes.
zooming.
Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 7715. For the record, this is now exhibit 511. Sergeant, direct your attention to the screen if you could, using that laser pointer, direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, of significance you observed.
There's the weird round plastic.
That is the thin, malleable, circular in shape, a piece of clear plastic that was located in the lawn area of 34 Fairview Road.
Okay.
Now, lastly, Sergeant, there's that set of photos that I just placed before you. Have you had a chance to review those?
Yes, I have.
That
And do you
clear piece of
recognize what's
plastic looks
depicted
like
in
it
those
could be a
Yes, I do.
And what do you
Like a
recognize those to be?
drink lid or
There
something.
are items. Those are items recovered in the lawn at 34 Fairview Road. Those items are a shard of glass, a BPD baseball hat with an American flag, and
Where's the photo of the baseball hat?
stains of blood.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm up to introduce the witness the next 16
No objection.
exhibits.
I just saw Mary in the chat say that it is her 60th. Did I see 60th birthday? Mary McCaw. Sorry, I added an R. I apologize. Happy 60th. We're going to keep zooming as we admit photo after photo after photo after photo. The jury doesn't have zoom, and for that, I am sorry for the jury.
With some of these photos. With the court's, sorry. Your Honor, with the court's permission, may I publish some of these photos for the jury as well?
Yes.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 7727. For the record, this is now exhibit 520. And again, Sergeant, if you could direct the jury's attention to what, if anything, of significance you observe in this photo.
I
What's in the
observed
photo
a
is all you
shard
need
of
to say.
glass next to a measuring ruler.
Is that glass or plastic?
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have...
It's real hard to know how these correspond to what went to the lab without knowing what evidence bag they were marked into. You know what the issue is going to be. Proctor marked them into the evidence bags. So.
7729. For the record, this is exhibit 522. And again, Sergeant, if you could describe to the jury what we're looking at here.
It's a larger piece of red plastic with black molding around the edge, located next to the telephone switch box on the grass area at 34 Fairview Road.
And Ms. Gilman, if I could have photograph 7733. For the record, this is exhibit 526. And Sergeant, from this photograph, what, if anything, are we looking at here?
This photograph here depicts the area which we are excavating during the morning hours of February 3rd, 2022. As the shovel works its way towards the grass, my laser pointer is directing your attention to Mr. O'Keefe's hat that was compacted underneath the snow on the ground.
Now, as far as this photograph is concerned, does that accurately depict the depth of the snow that you were digging into and sifting through on the morning of February 3rd?
It does.
And that, again, is several days after the blizzard of January.
You know what would be
29th,
helpful?
correct?
That is correct.
A ruler, the shovel, something to give perspective on measurement.
And Ms. Gilman, if I can have photograph 7740.
Because something to give perspective.
For the record, this is exhibit 530. And again, Sergeant, if you could describe to the jury what we're looking at here.
And maybe
We're looking at Mr. O'Keefe.
finally we see a hat. I also would want to see from that photo, if you're showing the depth of snow, something to measure it by. And then I would like also to see a zoomed out shot of where that is, because snow depths can vary based on where in the yard it is. So
O'Keefe's
I'm
hat
interested to
grass.
see the hat.
pressed down and compacted to a flat surface underneath the snow, which has been excavated around it.
Thank you very much. Ms. Gilman, you can...
Where is that in the yard?
Thank you.
What crime scene tech doesn't take an establishing photo? Where is it?
Mr. Ross.
Thanks, Jim.
Sergeant, on February 3rd, 2022, is that the first time that you had been at 34 Fairview Road?
Yes, it is.
And with respect, if I could turn your attention briefly to the
picture's
following day,
just-
February 4th. Did you have occasion to go back to 34 Fairview Road?
Leave a
on that?
lot to be desired.
Yes, I did.
And what brought you to 34 Fairview Road on February 4th?
Having excavated those items on the 3rd, I directed the troopers in my office, who obviously reside in the communities around us, to make a point to travel by that location every day on the way to work and every day on the way home. The purpose of that was to see if anything else was to reveal itself as the snow naturally melts away and items could present themselves. So on the February 4th, as I am traveling to work, I diverted my typical route of travel to go by 34 Fairview Road. Just prior to my arrival, I received a call stating that there was Kent police representatives at the scene, and more items have been revealed. due to the melting snow, and that I should come collect those items. I was down the street. I arrived and collected the item that presented itself.
And if you recall, that item that you collected on February 4th, was that located on the lawn, on the street, or something else?
It was on the lawn.
Now, with reference to your collection of these items, either on February 3rd, February 4th, or on any sort of subsequent date, how were they collected, and what exactly did you do with them in reference to the seizing of the items and storage of the items?
Each item that was collected was placed in a evidence paper bag. The collection was done by utilizing latex gloves to prevent any transfer of evidence from fingerprints to DNA onto those items. Then those items were transported to our office, logged into the system, and stored in the evidence lockers at the office.
And each of those respective bags of items or evidence, they were sealed as well, is that correct?
That's correct.
Now, turning your attention to February 10th of 2022, did you have occasion to go back to 34 Fairview Road?
February
on that day as well?
10th.
I did.
And what, if anything, did you observe, or what, if anything, did you seize on that particular day?
We seized more shards of glass and plastic.
And if you know, or if you recall, how many pieces did you seize on that particular day?
My memory is exhausted to that, but the exact numbers.
My memory is
annotated
exhausted as to that.
on the bags that the items were placed into.
You've been chatting with Yannetti,
Your Honor, may I approach?
or is
Yes.
this locally common?
I'm showing you documents, just ask you to look at that section and look up when you're finished.
I don't know if I think he's reviewing his report.
Yes.
Sergeant, is your memory refreshed as to how many items or what the items were that you recovered on February 10th?
Yes, it is.
And what were those items and how many, sir?
There was 6 items of clear red and black plastic and 14 items of plastic and glass.
Now, in
Combined?
addition to the dates that you were present at 34 Fairview Road and recovered items, them being February 3rd,
14
February
total or
4th, and February
14
10th.
additional to the
Were
6?
there other dates that you're aware of that items were recovered by troopers that you supervised?
Yes.
And if you recall, what were those dates?
The dates were January 29th, February 11th, and February 18th.
Were there items recovered on February 8th as well?
Yes.
Now, as
That's
far
later.
as your direction or having, let me first start with you. So on the dates that you were there, February 3rd, 4th, and 10th, were you alone on those dates, or were there other troopers with you when you were there?
On the 4th, I was alone as far as state police personnel. There were other Canton law enforcement representatives at the scene with me
Which is
as I
also a
collected that
question.
one item. On the other days, I was accompanied by other troopers.
And as far as you know, obviously not being present, but from your supervision of these troopers, were there other occasions where individuals were at 34 Fairview Road? Were they alone, or were they with a group of troopers?
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, as far as the items that were recovered when you were there on February 3rd, February 4th, and February 10th, did you have
It's a
occasion to
lot
bring
of
those
days.
items with you to court today?
Yes, I did.
And Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
So we're going to see all the physical
With the
evidence
box, first just ask if you recognize
coming
that
in
box.
now.
I do.
And what do you recognize that?
It's the box storing items logged into evidence as they relate to this case.
And Your Honor, with court's permission, may the sergeant open the box?
Yes.
Thank you.
It depends on the days, Ken.
Now,
there was at
First
least
Sergeant, with
one I saw
regard
signed
to
by him,
the
but I would
items,
need to go through the bags
as far as
again.
plastic and or glass that you recovered
But
from
yes.
34 Fairview Road on February 3rd, if you could locate those items.
I guess we should see some of them now. Steve, some of this question, it's a great question, is going to have to wait until we see what happens. Steve said, can you talk about the legal and ethical issues with trying not to call Proctor to testify? Shouldn't the DA want to be transparent about him for justice? I want to see what happens, but the DA always has the option to call or not call witnesses as they see fit. They also have the option to not pursue a case to trial. So until we see what happens, I'm going to reserve my thoughts on that. But legally, I don't think it will look good to the jury that somebody's name is all over this case as the lead investigator and doesn't
each of those
testify.
bags, they contain items of evidentiary value, whether they be plastic.
And how
or
he
glass,
becomes
or
unavailable will be very
is that correct?
interesting. So we're going to
That's
have more
correct.
discussions on
And I'm
that.
sorry, how many bags in total do you have there before you?
I have 3 bags, 2 containing broken glass and plastic, and a stirring straw, a broken red plastic and clear plastic, and a bag containing 1 black Boston Police Department hat.
Your Honor, the Commonwealth will seek to introduce in minutes the next 3 exhibits.
No objection.
Okay.
No particular order. Your Honor, with respect to what's now been marked as Exhibit 537, with the court's permission, may the sergeant remove that item, the hat, from the bag and display for the jury.
Yes.
So the hat is item number 537. So now we know that the hat is in evidence. We have not seen these evidence bags. That one looks like it has multiple signatures on it. I wonder if it was sent for testing, but I can't see the bag well enough. The photos that we have are of the hat in snow, and this witness's testimony that it was from 34 Fairview, but there didn't seem to be a further away photo of that. So it's frustrating. Yali asked, can a judge keep someone from testifying? It is difficult under very limited circumstances. It is
Sergeant,
possible.
from your observations of Mr. O'Keefe,
It being
surveillance
cumulative
video from both
is
C.F. McCarthy's in the waterfall on
one
January
of those
29th,
reasons.
What, if any, similarities did you observe between the hat that you just displayed and located on the lawn of 34 Fairview Road and the hat Mr. O'Keefe is wearing in those videos?
It appears to be the same exact hat.
Now, Sergeant, with reference to the box of other items, if you could remove what, if any, items you recovered and seized from 34 Fairview Road on February 4th.
Amanda asked in the chat, when someone is hit by a car as fast as this supposedly happened, and I'm not sure the exact speed. It wasn't super fast for a collision, but is it common for a
And again,
fitted
sir,
hat to
just for the
fly
record,
off
what's
someone's
contained
head
within that bag
and that
on
far from the
February 4th?
body?
Contained within the bag is a piece
We
of
don't
red,
know.
hard plastic taillight cover.
We don't
Ron,
know
come up,
how
please
far it was
introduce
found
the next
from
exhibit.
where the victim was.
No objection.
Thank you.
So we don't know. Do hats come off? Yes. But I don't know how far away from where he was recovered this was. They said it was in the area of the
Lastly,
flagpole.
Sergeant, with regard to the box, if you could remove the
So
items
I don't know.
that you seized from February 10th, 2022. And Sergeant, with respect to those 2 bags of items, if you could just inform the jury what is contained within those bags.
Bag labeled item number 10 contains 6 pieces of red, black, and clear plastic. Bag labeled number 11 is containing 14 pieces of glass and plastic fragments.
Thank you, Sergeant. Your Honor, the Commonwealth seeks to introduce and admit as the next two exhibits.
For all of you asking, why do these
objections,
bags look
Jackson?
so different than the
Sorry,
solo
no,
cup
Your Honor,
bags?
thank you.
These are evidence bags, not Stop and Shop bags. That's why. So that, I don't know what got on my glasses, but that was a mess. So my glasses are a mess.
I'm sorry, is it 539 and 540?
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Moving on from that, if I could bring you back just one last time to ring videos from One Meadows Ave, as far as you had testified earlier that
Back to ring video.
there was no video that you observed of the defendant, Ms. McCabe, and Ms. Roberts looking at the passenger side taillight area of the vehicle, correct?
That's correct.
Was there any video of the defendant, Ms. McCabe, and Ms. Roberts actually leaving from One Meadows Ave on that morning of January 29th?
There was not.
That's weird. Or
Now, as far as
it goes to the fact that ring doesn't pick anything up.
We're not there. As far as the defendant, Ms. McCabe, Ms. Roberts leaving. The next video depicted Mr. Camerano arriving at the residence to pick up Ms. Furbush, correct?
What?
Yes, that's correct.
And with regard to the missing video of the defendant arriving at One Meadows Ave on January 29th, sometime after midnight, the video immediately preceding that, again, would have been Mr. Camerano arriving and picking up his daughter from One Meadows Avenue sometime around 11:30.
Is it missing
correct?
or
That's
was
correct.
it not recorded?
And those videos were both present, correct?
That's correct.
If I could bring you back to February 3rd, 2022. On that date, did you have occasion to meet with a gentleman by the name of Brian Higgins?
Yes, I did.
And when you met with Mr. Higgins, who, if anyone from your office, was with you when you met?
Trooper Mike Proctor was from my office present during that interview.
And during the course of that interview, what, if any, documentation did Mr. Higgins provide you with?
Mr. Higgins provided me with a printout of a Celebrate extraction
messages.
containing conversations via text message between him and Mr. John O'Keefe and between him and the defendant. He also provided a digital
I know, Chad, I
copy
do
of the
have
same
eyes behind the
extraction
glasses.
on a
On
CD.
most days.
Now, what, if anything, did you advise Mr. Higgins of at that time as far as Mr. O'Keefe's phone and the defendant's phone?
I advised Mr. Higgins that we were in possession of both of those devices and would have the extraction and accurate documentation of those conversations.
And did he seem to understand that when you told him?
Yes, he understood it.
Objection.
Sustained.
Move to strike.
Yeah, it
Strike
calls
that.
for speculation.
Now, also on February 3rd, at some point, did you have occasion to go inside of 34 Fairview Road?
Yes, I did.
And who, if anyone, did you interview inside of 34 Fairview Road on that day?
I interviewed Mrs. Albert.
That would be, just for the record, Nicole Albert, is that correct?
Yeah,
That's
there's too
correct.
many of them.
Who, if anyone, was present with you during that interview of Nicole Albert?
It was Trooper Mike Proctor was present with me.
Anybody else from the Albert family present in the home or present during the course of that interview?
Mr. Brian Albert was also present. I don't know who else exactly was present in the home. I just know that those two residents were in the room with us.
And where was Brian Albert at the time that you conducted the interview of Nicole Albert?
In the room with us, seated next to her.
Kristen, it seemed that this is what
Now,
Higgins did at
with
the FBI
reference
building,
to-
but what came into evidence was not Celebrate, it was
Just a little bit about
screenshots.
sort of the interview process
So-
as far as the interviews that you conducted in this case.
Yes.
If you could describe for the jury, starting with sort of
So I
how
think
many
there are
people from
two
your
versions
unit
of
are
the
present
Higgins
for
texts,
a given interview and how those
but the
interviews are
prosecution hasn't made it clear.
We conduct interviews always at pairs. I think I mentioned it yesterday. Typically, during a regular investigation into a homicide or any death investigation, we pair up our troopers with a local detective. In this instance, since Canton had recused themselves from interview portion of the investigation, they were not going to provide manpower for those interviews to be conducted. Thus, we had to utilize only troopers from our office in order to conduct those interviews.
And typically, obviously not perfect, but as far as the interviews that you were present for, about how long a period of time, generally
No,
speaking,
witnesses, for those
were the
asking,
interviews that
witnesses
you
should
conducted
never
in
be
this case?
interviewed together.
From my
The problem with these witnesses, the shit was already out of the horse, and they had already talked about it. So I don't know if there was any more harm to be done, but no, witnesses shouldn't be interviewed together. But that is already an issue. They should have told Brian Albert, like, can you just go outside?
experience, I have learned that to fully communicate a course of recollection of events that an individual observes, experiences, or is aware of, and understand every detail of that experience, it would take approximately 45 minutes at a minimum to conduct a full interview with a witness in detail.
Now, sir, if I could turn your attention to June 9th of 2022. On that date, at some point, did you have occasion to meet with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And at some point during that meeting, did you have conversation with the defendant?
Yes, I did.
And was that conversation, or at least portions of it, memorialized in any way?
Yes,
Should
it
have been
was.
recorded.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
Was it recorded? I'd sure like to hear it if it was recorded.
I'm showing you a disc
Ooh, it might
that
have actually.
contain an audio recording. The best.
Y'all. Something might have actually been recorded. Well, I'm interested to hear what it is.
To your knowledge, does that contain an audio recording of a portion of your conversation with Ms. Reed on June 9th, 2022?
Why only a portion? I clapped too soon. Withdraw the claps.
Yes, it does.
Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I'm all seek to introduce and make the next exhibit.
All right. No objection, Mr. Jackson? All right, folks, before we play this, again, please be mindful of the instruction from yesterday. So you're about to hear statements allegedly made by the defendant, allegedly concerning the crimes with which she's charged in this case. Before you can consider any such statement as evidence, the Commonwealth must prove to you beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant made the statement she's alleged to have made and that she made it voluntarily, freely, and rationally. In determining whether the statement made by the defendant was voluntary or not, you may consider all the surrounding circumstances. These include when and where the statement was made, the nature of any conversations with the police or any questioning by the police, the defendant's physical and mental condition, including her intelligence, age, education, experience, and personality. Your decision does not turn upon any one factor, and you must consider the totality of the surrounding circumstances.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, may we publish that for the jury at this time?
Yes, do you want to turn off the air conditioning? Is this very short, right?
It is very short, and if we could, please, yes.
How short? Also, I'm curious as to whether the entire interview was recorded. I'm curious as to whether the entire interview was recorded and they are only playing a portion of it, or only a portion was recorded. But it should be the entirety recorded. The jury should get the entirety. They are allowed to choose only a portion to play in court, but the prosecution didn't do that smoothly, so I'm still left with questions. I do know better.
And this is just audio, correct?
I do know better.
Okay, you're aware he was beaten up by Brian Bukhenik, right? I mean, we're all in on the same joke, right? My tail end was cracked and John was pulverized.
Thank you. Now, Sergeant,
Chad, I actually want to hear that again, but I've got a question from the kiddo, so I will back that up in a minute. It's okay, buddy. It's Griff, it's okay.
No, I was just wondering.
upon hearing that statement from the defendant, what was your reaction?
Objection.
Sustained.
On hearing that statement, what, if anything, did you do?
Sorry, y'all. I'm going to play that again. G says hi. He was like, wait, you're live? He's like, you're not talking as much. I'm like, yeah, because we're watching court. I'm going to play that again. But it sounded like she said my taillight was cracked and John was pulverized. That's what it sounded like she said to me. So we're going to play it one more time because we can.
And this is just audio, correct?
We're all in on the same joke, right?
She said, I mean, if we're all in on the same joke, right? And this is what it sounds like to me. The jury should have a transcript of this and they will get to re-listen to it.
My taillight was cracked and John was pulverized.
My taillight was cracked and John was pulverized.
Thank you.
He was right. It was a very short clip.
On hearing that statement from the defendant, what was your reaction?
Objection.
Sustained.
On hearing that statement, what, if anything, did you do?
I advised the defendant not to further speak.
Objection.
You can't advise that.
I'll allow that.
Now,
Where's the rest of the interview?
at some point over the course of your investigation, were you made aware of forensic findings relating to the defendant's taillight,
Yes, I was.
and specifically DNA findings?
Where's the rest of the interview, though? I have so many questions.
Yes.
And specifically that there were
Objection.
Sustained. Yes.
They're approaching regarding DNA findings. The defense generally can't introduce the defendant's own statements, but the defense can request completeness of an interview of this, of that. And so them playing that snippet might open the door for the defense to say, okay, if the rest of the interview is recorded, then let's hear it.
You're on back? Have one moment.
Yes.
So, Sergeant Bukhenik, on January 16th, 2024, at some point in that day, did you meet with a Sergeant Gallerani of the Needham Police Department?
I did.
And who, if anyone else, well, let me ask you this. As far as any other troopers from your office, who, if anyone else, was there with yourself and Sergeant Gallerani?
Trooper Mike Proctor.
And what was the purpose of your meeting with Sergeant Gallerani, Trooper Proctor, on that morning?
Collection of our DNA.
And was that something that you did voluntarily?
Yes.
And how was it that the sergeant collected your DNA?
Through a buccal swab.
And were you present when Trooper Proctor submitted to a buccal swab as well?
Yes, I was.
And then as far as the swabbings that were taken from both yourself and Trooper Proctor, were those logged into evidence by you, or did Sergeant Gallerani take them with him when he left?
Sergeant Gallerani took him with it when he left.
I do have a light that goes on in my hallway for when I am live that is red.
Yes.
So kiddo knows. I also told him I was going to be live, but he wanted to come say hi. So it is what it is. And then he realized I was live and was like, wait, no. As the attorneys are talking over whatever that is, that is the witness's water bottle.
Cross-examination?
Thank you, Your Honor.
That's it? That's the end? That's the end of direct? Oh my. Well, let's go to cross-examination. Miguelina, will you let the app know that we are moving on to cross-examination of Trooper B? Because I don't even know what's happening. Okay, Cross. I'm shocked. I'm shocked that we got to
I'm going to
Cross.
start with one of the latter things that you discussed with Mr. Lally. That's specific to the ring video that y'all talked about this morning. Do you have that in mind?
I'm
I do.
shocked. I'm in shock.
The search warrant that produced, and just so we're clear, I'm talking about the specific ring video or series of videos that were associated with One Meadows, John O'Keefe's home.
Okay.
Okay. You didn't write the search warrant for those ring videos, did you?
I did not.
You were not the affiant for those search warrants.
He is
I
not.
was not.
Who was the author of the search warrant and the affiant?
It was Trooper Mike Proctor.
Who received the actual ring video or videos from the Ring Corporation?
Proctor.
It was Trooper Mike Proctor received it.
And who ultimately either logged those into evidence or controlled those once they were received from the Ring Corporation?
You guys answer him as you know him. Answer as we go.
I believe it was Trooper Mike Proctor.
Answer.
And
You're allowed to
ultimately,
answer along in the
Sergeant
chat.
Bukhenik, you did note that in addition to just the physical videos themselves, that login information and login keystrokes, et cetera, were requested from the Ring Corporation as well, correct?
Oh, really?
There
Really?
was discussion with Ring asking for those logs.
I'll call it, is it correct to say an activity log?
That's what was requested, yes, activity log, yes.
So ultimately, the activity log would show who logs in, who accesses the data, things of that nature, correct? Or at least that was the hope.
That is what was requested.
All right. It would also show logging in and executing deletions, manipulating the log files, things of that nature, correct?
That is what was requested, yes.
When you reviewed those log,
I don't think he knows that.
activity logs, there was no evidence revealed that my client ever logged into that account, correct?
There was no activity logs provided by Ring.
So you have zero, hang on.
No activity log provided by Ring. He's not going to let the assumption lean out there, and he's going to link Proctor to every single
Is
thing
it
that
true
Proctor
that
did.
Ring contacted Trooper Proctor and indicated that they had created a Dropbox folder that contained the evidence that had been sought in the search warrant?
Objection.
Sustained.
I imagine the Dropbox was
Isn't it
just for the
true
video.
that the search warrant return specified account information, video recordings, and number 3, activity logs associated with the video recordings are all times displayed in UTC?
It's in the return.
I'm not aware of that, no.
Do you recall that
It's in the return?
Activity logs were in fact provided from the Ring Corporation?
I do not recall that, no.
Okay. May I approach briefly?
Yes.
What now? Zoom,
Take a
zoom.
look,
Oh,
Sergeant, at that paragraph, which my finger's on. It's about the 3rd paragraph down.
it's the
the middle
search
of the
warrant
page.
return.
And review that to yourself and let me know when you're finished.
Ruby Red, we are sending an app notification. Do not worry. I'm not zooming because I want to watch him read it. I'm getting awkward. This is taking a while. This is why I'm not zooming.
Have you had an opportunity to review that?
Yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you.
He definitely took a moment to review it, didn't
Does
he?
this refresh your recollection as to the items received from the Ring Corporation?
That is the first time I saw that document, so it does not refresh my recollection. I simply read it.
So do you have a recollection as you sit here that in fact during the course of your investigation, the 3 items that you received from the Ring Corporation were the account information, the video recordings, and quote, activity logs associated with the video recordings, all times displayed in UTC?
To the extent of its availability, as it says in that document.
Okay. The long and short of it is, during the entire course of your investigation, you never revealed that investigation never revealed any evidence whatsoever that my client ever even accessed the account information for the Ring account associated with this search warrant, correct?
Nothing provided by Ring proved or suggested or proved any evidence of that type of activity, no.
What is that answer?
Trooper Proctor, you were notified.
I am not Trooper Proctor.
I'm sorry. No, you're not. Sergeant Bukhenik.
Sergeant Bukhenik.
How do I say it?
Bukhenik.
I'll give that
Can't.
a shot.
It's fine.
Bukhenik?
Yes.
Is that better?
That's better. Thank you.
If I screw it up again, please.
He's like, just don't call me Proctor again. Thanks.
On January 29th, you were notified about a Boston police officer found gravely injured outside the home of 34 Fairview at about 6:40 in the morning. Was that your testimony?
That is not.
What time were you notified?
I was not notified it was a Boston police officer.
So you didn't have that information upon the first notification?
I did not.
Okay, what information did you have?
There was a male party in the snowbank, possibly of a heart attack.
At what point did you learn that the individual was, in fact, a sworn Boston police officer?
I do not know exactly when I learned that he was a Boston police officer.
You think it was during that day or the following day?
It was most likely that day, either. Yeah.
Fair enough. Trooper Proctor was ultimately assigned as the, what did you call him? Not lead investigator, but case officer?
Officer.
That's correct.
He was assigned on the 29th, correct?
He was on call from 7 a.m. on January 28th until 7 a.m. on January 29th.
So he got whatever case came in.
So his assignment was, he was assigned on the 29th because he was on call.
He was on call. His assignment took effect when the schedule came out back in mid-December.
Okay. Well, he wouldn't be assigned to this investigation until there was a need for the
They
investigation.
keep pointing out that the schedule is done in
Once the call
advance
came in, he was the assigned.
because of the call
Once the calls come in, the person that's on call
on the
is
schedule.
automatically assigned that case.
All right. Did you personally, as his supervisor, did you personally respond to 34 Fairview at any point on January 29th?
No, I did not.
Did Trooper Proctor, at your direction or on his own, ever respond to 34 Fairview Road at any time on January 29th?
No, he did not.
Based on your initial investigation, and I'm talking about going way back, Sergeant, on your initial investigation, by 10 or 10:30 in the morning, 10:40 in the morning, it was your belief that Mr. O'Keefe had been struck in the face by a person. That was your initial understanding of the circumstances surrounding the investigation, correct?
What now?
My initial understanding was that the defendant stated that she hit him. We did not know the.
Sergeant, you hadn't even met my client at that point.
He had
You
heard
hadn't interviewed
from.
a single witness by 10:41 in the morning, correct? Not one witness.
That's not correct. We had already interviewed the first responders.
Okay, when I say witness, I'm talking about civilian witnesses.
Well, he wasn't.
10:41, you hadn't interviewed a person at 34 Fairview or associated civilians associated with this incident, correct?
At that point, no civilians have been interviewed, no.
But at 10:41, Sergeant, you contacted Good Samaritan Hospital to inform them that, quote, Mr. O'Keefe was struck in the face with a cocktail glass. End quote.
What?
Correct?
I do not recall contacting Good Samaritan Hospital.
May I approach?
Yes.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm very curious to see what Good Samaritan said.
I'd like you to take a look at this document.
Because when stuff is
If
at
you
issue,
wouldn't mind,
those neutral
pay
third-party
special
witnesses
attention
become
to
really
the
critical
second page,
when there are
bottom
questions to
paragraph
other
where it's tabbed
things.
in pink.
Chat, y'all saying it must have been a butt dial is hilarious. George, no. Okay. Streaming with cats is dynamic. I'm just leaving the I'm leaving the awkward pauses because it's needed, I think, to see how long it takes. I need to stop watching these because this is a moment. He's gonna read the whole damn report slowly. How uncomfortable would you be if you're in the courtroom, chat? What if any, discomfort watching this go down? Music to my soul said the jury deserves to have instant replay. They get it when they're in the deliberation room and they can rewatch anything they want. Bebop, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Having reviewed this, does this refresh your recollection that you contacted Good Samaritan Hospital and gave them an assessment, at least based on your investigation at that time?
That is not true.
What did you say to Good Samaritan Hospital?
I never spoke to Good Samaritan Hospital. That document is from the medical examiner's office.
I'm not asking you where the document's from.
No, he said the document's for the medical examiner's office.
I'm asking you if the document says Trooper Yuriy Bukhenik called back at 10:41 stating the case is now being treated as a suspicion.
The objection sustained.
Did you call back to Good Samaritan Hospital and say that the investigation was being treated as a suspicious due to a domestic situation? Did you say that?
I never spoke to Good Samaritan Hospital.
Did you say that there's a possibility that
He was speaking to the
was struck in
coroner.
the face with a cocktail glass?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you ever contact anybody at any medical facility and indicate that the investigation was being treated as a suspicious, in quotation marks, because the victim appeared to have been struck in the face by a cocktail glass? Did you ever say
Objection.
that?
Allow that. Did you ever say that?
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, I did say that to the medical examiner's operations desk.
Okay, so when I was asking you if you ever sent it to Good Sam, you said, no, that's not true, that's never happened. You were correcting me on the fact that it happened at the medical examiner's office.
He said that at the beginning.
I responded and answered your question honestly, yes.
Okay, so honestly, you did, in fact, at 10:41 a.m.
Call the ME's
indicate
office
to another professional involved in the investigation that the circumstance was being treated as a physical assault at that point, correct?
I communicated our
The ME's office.
suspicions to the medical examiner's office.
And that was at 10:41 or thereabouts in the morning, correct?
That's correct.
Your initial investigation during those obviously critical hours,
That's
the
early.
beginning hours, led you to believe that there was at least a good possibility. You indicated that you made a phone call, that it was a physical altercation that led to John O'Keefe's death, correct?
That's correct, yes.
What steps did you take, sir, in those moments, to determine whether someone in the house at 34 Fairview may have been involved in that physical altercation that you suspected at the time?
As investigations develop, we followed the evidence and statements made. The steps I took was Trooper Proctor and I proceeded to an eyewitness who was also present at the scene when the victim was discovered and interviewed Ms. McCabe.
And
I don't know, Chad, I don't know if Jackson did that on purpose. It's not a good look if he did, or if Jackson was confused about who was telling who what. But it's not a good look for Jackson that he's like, you told Good Samaritan this. He's like, no, this is from the medical examiner. And Jackson keeps going on and on and on. And he's like, no, I told the ME's office. So it's not calling the hospital if you're calling the ME's. I don't know if that is Jackson being confused or what, but I imagine as cross goes, there's going to be more stuff. But they had already decided that this was potentially domestic related very early on. Very, very early on.
prior to interviewing Ms. McCabe, by the way, that was at Ms. McCabe's home, correct?
That's correct, yes.
Even though you believe that there may have been a physical altercation, you didn't ask anybody to come down to the station. Is that right? Any of the witnesses?
That's correct.
And you did not seek to actually go to the physical location of 34 Fairview in those next few hours
That's correct.
or the next few days, correct?
Not myself, no.
As a matter of fact, Trooper Proctor did not either, did he?
No, he did not.
You didn't secure the interior of the house as a potential crime scene. You certainly know how to do that, right?
That's a compound question. Do you want me to answer whether I did it or
Sir,
whether I know how to do it?
That's not going to go
I'll
well
ask
for
first.
you.
If you can answer it, please answer it.
Oh, fuck.
Can you
Don't
answer that
start
question?
fighting with him.
I can answer
You're going to
that
lose.
question.
Why don't you answer both of them then?
First portion is we did not secure the home as a crime scene. And the second portion, yes, I do know how to do that.
And you didn't, as a Massachusetts State Police official, you didn't secure the outside as a crime scene either, did you?
I did not know.
To your knowledge, nobody else from Massachusetts State Police ever did either, did they?
Yes,
No.
they did.
How was that done and when?
When?
When members of our office and the CERT team responded to that location and secured the front yard grass area and processed it.
That was at 5:45, 6 o'clock that night on the 29th?
I believe it was earlier, but I was not present, so I can't testify to the time.
So you don't know personally
It was
what
like
they did
4
to quote unquote
something.
secure or not secure the crime scene. You know they searched it, but in terms of securing it as a crime scene, you don't have personal knowledge to that.
I was not present.
Okay. You never took any photos of the interior of the house, correct?
I did not know.
You never caused CSSS to go inside the house and process that house as a potential crime scene, correct?
I did not know.
No forensic criminalist at your direction ever went into 34 Fairview?
No, they did not.
And the people that you interviewed on January 29th, you already mentioned Ms. McCabe. The other people were her husband, Matt McCabe, correct?
That's correct.
And her brother-in-law, Brian Albert. Is that right?
That is correct.
And all three of them were interviewed where?
They were interviewed at the McCabe residence.
Now, yesterday when you testified, did you indicate that Brian Albert was not present in the home when you interviewed Matt McCabe and Jennifer McCabe?
They were not. He was not present in the dining room when we were interviewing each individual separately.
But was in the
All
house.
three of them testified that he arrived before you arrived. They would all be wrong.
I did not see him in the home when we arrived, no.
I want to switch gears real quick to a couple of the physical items that you testified about yesterday, specifically the gray shirt or the gray hoodie and the orange shirt. You and Trooper Proctor collected both of those items you indicated from the floor of the hospital at Good Samaritan, correct?
That's correct.
You testified that you and Trooper Proctor immediately bagged both of those items. They were sort of sopping wet, I think you said.
That's correct.
You indicated that the bags were so wet that you had to take the items back out of the bags and then lay them out on, I think you said, butcher paper. Is that right?
The items were soaked and wet. They were bagged,
They were
double
double-bagged.
bagged, to prevent leakage of physiological fluids and the moisture coming
Water.
off of it. And then once they were transported to the
Maybe
office,
biological fluids,
they were
not
laid out on butcher
physiological
paper
fluids?
in order to dry naturally.
So you went from Good Samaritan directly to Dighton, correct?
That is correct.
And then you went from Dighton directly to the Canton Police Department, after which you had seized the vehicle, correct? And the phone.
Dighton
We
is
seized the
Karen's
phone and the
parents'
vehicle
house.
in Dighton and then followed the tow truck straight to the Canton Police Department.
So the clothes-
At some point,
So
if
the
you had
clothes-
received or gathered the wet clothing at Good Sam, went from Good Sam to Dighton Canton PD, at what point that evening did you finally get those items of clothing out and laid out to dry?
It was late that night, around 10 or so.
So where were the items in the meantime?
They were stored in the back passenger compartment of my pickup truck.
In those double bags?
Correct.
Who took control of the items to then lay them out late that night at the office?
I do not recall.
Is that you or Trooper Proctor?
I don't recall. I don't remember.
At some point, obviously, it was getting late. You'd been on duty for a long time that day. You went home at some point, correct?
At some point, yes.
Did you wait for those clothes to dry before you went home, or did you leave that in Trooper Proctor's hands?
No, once they were laid out in the processing area in the office, we went home.
Okay. Who would have controlled those items of evidence when you left?
Well, they're under lock and key within the secure area of the district attorney's office, so they're secured. Nobody's in physical control watching guard over them.
Who had access to that area?
Troopers in our office.
Meaning you,
All
obviously.
Yes.
troopers?
Supervisor. Trooper Proctor as well, correct?
Yes, yes.
Ultimately, given the fact that he was the case officer, sort of in charge, the lead, he would have bagged those items up, been responsible for taking those items, tagging them, getting them stored wherever they needed to be stored and processed, correct?
As a case officer, he could direct other people to perform those tasks for him. The evidence officers in the office log in the evidence, and once it was dried It was sealed up, bagged, and put into storage. As far as who actually performed those tasks, I do not know.
Well, yesterday, Your Honor,
Shouldn't we know that?
Approach to the course, right?
Shouldn't we know
Oh,
that?
sure, go ahead.
Thank you.
Shouldn't we know that? I will zoom him grabbing the evidence bags, though.
So this is not a vision contest. I'll bring these up to you in just a second, but just for familiarity's sake, do you recognize these two bags as bags that you brought to court with you yesterday?
They look familiar, yes.
Okay. This one has a 437 on it on my right. The one on my left has a 438 on it. May I approach it briefly?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm not going to ask you to open those. Don't worry about gloving up at this point. The bag on your left, which one is that? 437 or 438?
The bag on my left is 437.
437. Okay. And you indicated that those items were bagged after the clothing was dried and then ultimately processed in, logged in, correct?
Once the items dried, they were bagged and logged in, waiting processing, yes.
But you didn't personally do that.
No, I did not, no.
Matter of fact, looking at the bag on your right,
I'm just going to put this down so we can see the
was
bags
marked
better.
as, exhibit 430, help me, 438, thank you. That one
438
has
is
some
just like,
writing,
help me.
correct?
Yes, it has a lot of hand writing on it, yes.
And that, whose handwriting is that?
I don't know.
You've seen Trooper Proctor's handwriting 1,000 times, I'm guessing, correct?
Not 1,000 times, but
Does it look like his writing?
it says Trooper Proctor on it, but other than that, I do not know what Trooper Proctor's handwriting looks like.
All right. It indicates that Trooper Proctor is the one that bagged that item or those items up, correct?
Yes, this bag indicates that the item was collected by Trooper Proctor on 129.
Right.
Collected
10.
And
by.
it says Brockton, correct?
Collected by. That could have been bagged by somebody else.
Good Samaritan Hospital in Brockton, yes.
That was, you just took the question out of my mouth. That's where Good Samaritan Hospital is, correct?
That's correct.
And there's a tag or a printed label, looks like a label.
That's from the
of some
lab.
sort, that is on that physical bag, correct?
Yes.
Before we get to that, what's the description on that bag in handwriting?
I'm sorry. Can you be specific as to
The
description of
description.
what or
Where it
The
says
description.
of items.
Of what's in the bag.
description of enclosed evidence?
Correct.
Yeah.
It says 1 orange T-shirt, 1 gray long sleeve shirt.
Okay. So may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
And before I do that, just so I close this loop, what's the description on the bag to your left, the one that looks like it's less sprinkled?
Number 437.
Yes, if you would read the same clothing description.
The description of enclosed evidence states sweatshirt with recovered items inside container.
Okay. May I approach now?
Yes.
Thank you. Yesterday when you opened, I'll keep my voice up. Yesterday when you opened these two bags, this one, 437, has the gray sweatshirt in it. 438 has the orange T-shirt in it now, correct?
That's what was in the bag, yes.
All right. However, the bag indicates at one point, this bag, 438, the physical bag I'm holding in my left hand, had both the sweatshirt and the T-shirt together, correct?
That's what the description is. I do not know if that was in case or in fact the case.
Who would know that?
The reason you don't know is because
You
you're not
didn't do
holding
it.
the bag that Trooper Proctor did, correct?
The reason I don't know is I wasn't present during the separation of those items, and I did not observe it taking place, nor was I made aware of how the items were separated or when.
You are aware, however, that tag that's on the label maker looking tag, the white tag that's on that bag indicates that it was indicates a date of February 4th, correct?
You'd have to bring that back up.
I'm sorry.
I didn't take note of that.
My fault. May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Just direct your attention to the tag and the date associated with that tag.
The label maker tag does have the date February 4th, 2022 on bag number exhibit 438.
May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you, Sergeant.
Yeah.
That's obviously 6 days after the item was actually recovered on the 29th, correct?
Yes, it is.
So that indicates, at least based on that tag, that that item was not booked into evidence and processed until 6 days after it was actually recovered on the floor at Good Samaritan Hospital. Is that right?
The date indicates February 4th, 2022.
Right. And that date would be indicative, in your experience, of the date that it's moved into processing
Right.
by some other folks, the evidence sergeants or whomever, or the evidence officers rather, or whomever, correct?
I can't speak to their procedures as far as when
That's
they
the
print the date.
problem.
That date could be when they printed the label, but the bag might have been tagged otherwise. I do not know that.
But there's no other tag on that bag that suggests an earlier date, correct?
There's just that one tag from the label maker.
My question to you, if you know, sir, and you may not know, is what was
He
happening
just said he didn't know.
to these items between January 29th, after you lost sight of
Right.
them that night on the butcher paper, and February 4th, when that tag indicates that they were first processed?
To the best of my knowledge, those items were drying on the butcher paper.
For 6 days?
If that's what the label maker says, yes, for 6 days. They were soaking wet.
And those would have been certainly accessible to and in the possession of the lead case officer in the case, who's Trooper Proctor, right?
Right.
Yes, if Trooper Proctor needed to review those items, he would have access to those items. Absolutely.
And you're also aware
Right.
that the first actual
Maybe.
log of any chain of custody
Thank you.
for those items is March 14th, when they were finally submitted 6 weeks later to
By the
crime
lab? Oh, that's
That is not
terrible.
true. The first actual log of those items
Hold on.
is
Hold on.
when we collected them from the hospital.
Where's the log? I'm talking about a physical log, like a sign in, sign out log. Where's the log?
It's documented in the reports saying that we collected them.
I know that there's a report. Anybody can write a report, right? I could write a report. Doesn't mean anything. I'm asking for a log.
Objection.
So the objection sustained.
Obviously, when items move in and out of people's custody in an
How is there no
official
log?
capacity for the Massachusetts State Police, there's a log of that.
How is there
Correct.
no log?
It's documented. Yes,
Or at least it should be, correct?
it's documented.
Where's the log of these items before March 14th?
It's documented in the report.
There is no log, is there, Sergeant?
I do not know.
Okay. I want to talk a little bit about some searches that Mr. Lally asked you about, February 4th and February 10th, very specifically. Both of those searches you were involved with out at 34 Fairview, correct?
Correct.
But Sergeant, you didn't personally write a report about your
There should be an
conduct at
evidence log on
34
that.
Fairview on either of those 2 days.
Y'all, I sent you
In other
another
words, you
app
didn't
notification.
Go
Let me know
back
if
to
you
the
get it.
station and generate a report yourself.
I don't recall doing that now.
There were no photos that you took of the items at the location.
I did.
Else took photos, correct?
I did not take photos of the items. no.
Okay. And the first report that indicates anything that happened or was recovered at the location on either February 4th or February 10th, that was first notated in a report dated November 4th, 2023. year and a half, year and several months later, correct?
If you say so, I do not know the exact date. That report would have to be presented to me.
May I approach?
Yes.
There should be a log from the evidence room, which is leading me to question, was this never
You don't have
checked
to
into
read the
the
whole
evidence
thing, but if
room
you
until
can-
it went to the lab?
Skip to the part that talks about the February 4th and February 10th searches.
Thank you, everybody. I'm glad the alert came more quickly. There, stuff's getting updated today, which I did not know. Of course, it's getting updated the day he testifies, right? On cross.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize you're finished already. What's the date of that? Well, let me ask a foundational question. Does that refresh your recollection as to the date of the report that actually talks about the February 4th and February 10th searches?
It does.
And what's the date of that report, sir?
This report is dated November 4th, 2023.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you.
The report's November 4th, 23, noting the
As it relates to those-
February 2022 searches. I wonder what happened before November 23 that made them go back and document it. So they went out and found pieces of taillight, photographed it, but there's no report.
Two searches. I'd like to ask you a little bit about the February 4th search first. You indicated that you actually responded to 34 Fairview personally, correct?
I was responding to that location on my own. I personally responded, yes.
Okay. That was because you had received information that Chief Berkowitz had seen something or found something.
He had only said
Is that
Canton
right?
PD.
Chief Berkowitz from Canton PD.
That is not correct, no.
Okay. So when you got there, was Chief Berkowitz there?
Yes, he was.
You just happened to go by 34 Fairview at the exact same time on the exact same date
No.
as Chief Berkowitz?
He got
or
a call
was-
from
was that
somebody else
coordinated
from
somewhere?
Canton.
There was no coordination between me and Chief Berkowitz. As I testified, I had directed the troopers to go by the location. I planned to go by the location in the morning on the way to the office and in the afternoon on the way home, just to see if any more items would reveal themselves. So that morning, I was actually traveling to that location in order to conduct a view of the area to see if any more evidence had been revealed. Prior to my arrival, approximately while I was on Chapman Street, I received a call indicating that Chief Berkowitz was at the location, yes.
And was there also an Officer Lank, Sergeant Lank?
I do not know Sergeant Lank was there, no.
Okay.
And they
Chief
shouldn't.
Berkowitz certainly was there.
Yes,
And Chief Berkowitz indicated that as he was driving by, he
He
saw
saw
a piece of glass,
something.
yes.
and stopped his car and then
That's all
started
hearsay,
making phone
but-
calls.
I believe that's what he indicated to the caller, yes.
Did you question Chief Berkowitz about why he was driving by the location in the first place?
Absolutely not.
Okay, you knew
Absolutely
at that
not.
point, that
Canton
the
PD was
Police Department
recused.
had been recused because of at least an appearance or potential for a conflict of interest, correct?
I knew they recused themselves due to only in respect to interviews. They didn't want to conduct interviews with
That's
us. side by
not
side.
what they testified.
If there's a conflict of interest, Sergeant, for a department, conducting the interviews is just one aspect of an investigation, correct?
I'm not going to speak to a conflict of interest, but yes, conducting an interview is just one aspect of the investigation, yes.
So is it your testimony?
If there is a conflict, it can conflict the decision-making process. It can conflict the way that people think about something. There can be things that people think they are not conflicted on, and they are. That's why they recuse themselves. Sir, come on.
That your understanding was they couldn't conduct interviews, but they could collect evidence,
No,
Store
that's why they
evidence.
called you.
write search warrants, get returns on search warrants, execute search warrants.
This is
conduct
just
searches. They do all
Lunacy.
that and not
I
conduct
was going to
interviews.
say it's ludicrous, but
My
I don't want to
understanding was they were
insult the
recusing
man.
themselves from conducting interviews. They still allowed us to use their facilities. We utilized their conference room to conduct interviews. There was evidence being stored at their
That's
Sally port,
different.
being the vehicle. So that was my understanding.
Isn't it true that you knew that the entirety
Them letting you use their conference room is a very different thing.
of the Canton Police Department had recused itself because of a familiarity between one of their members, Kevin Albert, and the Albert family.
It was a familial
on whose
relation.
lawn John O'Keefe was found. That was the conflict, correct?
I knew that was the connection between them, yes.
And you understood, sir, that that agency was to have nothing from an investigative standpoint, nothing to do with this investigation, correct?
They were not conducting the investigation, no.
Matter of fact, Trooper Proctor and you supervising him, y'all were conducting the investigation, right?
Our office was conducting the investigation.
So did you find it unusual or suspicious in any way that the chief of police for the conflicted Canton PD was the person driving by 34 Fairview looking for evidence?
Objection.
It's called
Can you
for
answer that
speculation.
question, Sergeant?
It calls for speculation. I'm surprised she didn't sustain it, honestly.
He would have to repeat it. There's just so much I can't.
There was a little wording. I'll try it again. Did you find that suspicious?
You sat through an entire direct examination with Lally and you're going to call Jackson wordy? I mean, he can be a bit, but sir, really?
Which part? You have to repeat the whole thing.
That Chief Berkowitz from the conflicted Canton PD was at 34 Fairview looking for evidence.
You didn't think
The
that was
way you
weird?
posed the question, I did not find it suspicious at all. He's the chief of the police in the town where he works, and he's driving down the street. I mean, that's not suspicious.
With a conflict of interest on the very case that he's driving by.
Objection.
Sustained.
You certainly knew, as a supervisor over the case officer, that any involvement by Canton Police Department, given the fact that there's a potential conflict, any involvement by them could compromise your otherwise clean investigation. You knew that, right?
Okay.
Not
He
necessarily,
didn't think
no.
that at all.
Did Chief
That's part of the problem.
disclose to you that morning on February 4th that he had been communicating with Brian Higgins and Brian Albert, two witnesses on your case that morning?
Objection.
Sustained.
It's hearsay.
If you knew information about communication between and among Canton PD and your witnesses, you would find that inappropriate, would you not?
Objection.
Sustained.
You returned to the scene on February 10th, is that right? To conduct another search, you said.
I was present on the 10th, yes.
Who dispatched you back to, or did anybody dispatch you back to that location on February 10th? How did you end up there?
Why'd you decide to go?
February 10th, just like previous days, we made plans to go to the location in the morning, in the afternoon, drive by. I was on my way to work and to home. So I traveled that route on purpose. And as evidence revealed itself due to the natural melting of the snow, we would stop and collect the visible evidence.
You believed at this point, sir, that whatever you might collect at the scene would obviously be important, correct?
So why did you write it
Anything
in a
we
report?
collected that had evidentiary value or presented itself as somehow related to the crime or the incident would be collected.
Excuse me, so
And it
why
would
is
be
there no
important.
report?
To the investigation, right? You treat it as important.
Why is there no
Yes.
report?
So my question is, was, especially as it relates to the February 10th search, where there were multiple items found, did you seek to have CSSS come out and actually either mark with GPS coordinates or measure with cross coordinates exactly where each item of evidence was found?
We did not do that. We had collected so much evidence already, and so much has been documented at that point, that we did not contact crime scene services to come back out and photograph more shards of glass and plastic. We simply collected it for processing.
So the location of each one of those items was not of that great importance to you, at least at that time?
It was of great importance as to the fact that it was located in the vicinity where the victim was found and in the vicinity of other items located of the same characteristic, shape, size, and color.
So that's my question. What does vicinity mean?
In the area,
Okay, what does area mean?
it's a location, specific
General
location.
area?
Okay, are we talking about, if we can do this all day, I guess, are we talking about an area of 5 feet or an area of 50 feet?
Based
the
on where the
radius?
items were recovered, we're talking about an area approximately of 30 square feet between the roadway.
That's the most measurement we've
into the
gotten in
grass.
this case.
It's the
We saw
That didn't come from the
photographs,
lab.
Sergeant, of items that were butted up against a fire hydrant in one instance, correct?
Some that were just in
That's
snow.
correct. Yes,
A drinking straw that's out in the road, correct?
that's correct.
Another shard of glass that's in the grass closer to
correct.
the flagpole, correct?
Correct.
A hat that's under the snow adjacent to the left side of the flagpole, correct? I'm sorry, it wasn't. It was closer to the electrical box, wasn't it?
No, the pictures documented where the hat was. It was to the right of the flagpole.
So these shards of glass, the point I'm asking is, did you seek to use basic cross coordinates, measurements from something that you know is a known object, like for instance, I don't know, a flagpole or a fire hydrant? 27 inches to the north and a foot and a half to the south of those two known points, that would give you a cross coordinate, correct?
It would document the exact location, correct?
And you did not do that with any of these items, correct?
The items that were not photographed were not also GPS located, but they were within the same vicinity of where the other items were
Shouldn't everything
collected.
be photographed?
But again,
Chad, just a question for all of you. Do you need Alan Jackson to keep going down this trail? Or are you already just like, okay, so you just went and picked stuff up and put it in evidence bags, but you didn't document where it was? It was just in a 30 square foot radius. Okay. Because again, whether you believe the defense's theory of the case or not, and some of you may not, whether you believe the defense's theory of the case or not, does anyone think that this was done well? And it not being done well might be the problem for all of the jurors. They might be like, look, I don't know if it is a massive cover-up or if it's just incompetence, but it doesn't matter at this point, because how do you convict someone when this is what they're doing? Like, where are those things? Like, a picture of a piece of thing in snow gives me no context to where it came from. But I don't know if Alan needs to keep going, because they're like, no, we didn't need crime scene to come out and do it. Nah, we're fine. Maybe you need them to come out to ask them where they shoveled that snow to, because they were shoveling out tons of snow. So evidence could have moved.
now we're back to the same question.
Oh my God, I'm so frustrated by this.
Your word for vicinity might be different than my word for vicinity, right?
Objection.
Right.
Sustain.
But that's right. It's just not a good investigation.
When you recover these items, or any other items, it's obviously important to memorialize on the evidence bag or in some other way
Where it's
exactly
found.
where they're found, who found them, the date, time, etc. Correct?
Yeah.
We do the best we can to document all known information on each evidence item bag.
You know what? You could have had more known information if somebody had measured things. There's a curb line. Measure from the curb line. The curb line's a constant. The flagpole and the fire hydrant don't seem like they're going anywhere. There are plenty of things to measure from. You can't just... why does it feel to me, this is what this feels like? Did you guys... Well, I grew up at the beach, but I'm sure that people do this elsewhere. I grew up at the beach and we used to do like trash pickup days for like school and for community service and stuff for school. Do they still have high school community service requirements? It doesn't matter. We used to go do like trash pickup at the beach and stuff. This is what this feels like. Like they're just going through the grass, just picking stuff up. And they're like, whatever, it just goes in the bag. I'm so annoyed.
Bagged at the time.
And in terms of the February 10th search,
We only
I wanna just ask
document
you a
what
couple
we
quick
measure and we
questions
don't
about
measure
that
everything.
evidence bag. Did you bag the items into a single evidence bag that you found that day, or do you recall?
I would have to see the bag. If you have those available,
there's a
I'll take a
photo.
look. I can answer.
With the court's permission, exhibit, I think it's 310.
Some of
was
that
entered
is
into
from the
evidence
lab,
yesterday.
and we
I'd like
saw
to
those
display that.
pictures.
Okay.
Everyone
You're looking at a
involved in this
photograph of
case
what was
deserves
previously
better.
entered into evidence is 310. Can you see that from where you're at?
I
don't
can
have the
actually
evidence
see
back
it.
with me, so if you don't,
It's lovely.
I certainly ask the space to enlarge it.
If you can enlarge it, please.
Just the portion of the right. Your Honor, may I approach?
Yes.
I didn't
This is
realize you got a
February
photograph
10th,
of it.
2022 at
Can you put the lights on,
9:15
Please.
a.m.
Thank
6 pieces of red, black, and clear plastic. We saw this with the lab tech. I swear to you, if somebody had brought this investigation into my office, I would have screamed at them. I mean, like, what are you doing?
Have you been able to familiarize yourself with that evidence bag?
With the photograph, yes.
Okay, thank you. Taking a look at that evidence bag, it has
Just all went in one bag.
The information on it has your name is collected by, correct?
Correct.
The date of collection is February 10th. Is that right?
That's what it says, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that is what it says.
And it indicates multiple pieces of
If there was a report, it would be helpful.
red, black, and clear plastic, right? It actually says 6 pieces of red, black, and clear plastic, correct?
That's correct.
But that is.
Jason,
not
I haven't
evidence
seen
bag
anything
filled
yet
out by you.
that makes me think I
I
would have.
did not fill that bag out, no.
As a matter of fact, that's Trooper Proctor's handwriting.
I do not know what Trooper Proctor's handwriting is. I cannot confirm that that's his handwriting.
But it's not your.
How many cases have y'all worked together? Did they give me a 20? How many? Hi to the lovely crew at Starbucks that is probably watching streams and knew that I might need a Trenta coffee today. Or you ran out of venti cups. Either way, I appreciate you. So, how many cases have y'all worked together? You're his supervisor. You've never seen his writing before. I mean, it is the most cop writing I've ever seen with everything in caps, so it can't be, it can be easily read, but
Your handwriting.
really?
It is not my handwriting, no.
So
It's very cop handwriting to do everything in all caps.
are you aware that this particular bag, that bag,
I'm not done yet.
contained those 6?
We only have a short day in court today, so we're going to get there. You would just think, if nothing else, that at this point, they know that this man is a fallen police officer. You would think there would at least be a modicum of maybe we go above and beyond. Maybe we just go the extra step. Maybe we just roll out CSSS and try to make sure that everything in this investigation goes well. If this is how they treat this victim, I have concerns about what other investigations look like, because it's just so frustrating.
Items of plastic material.
You just would think they would care.
Incredibly important to the investigation. Was never going into
I'm sorry to all the
evidence
medical professionals that
until
also use all
March
caps.
14th.
I said it's typical
Did they
cop
get
writing.
into the crime lab?
It's not typical of,
I was not
It's not-
aware of that, no.
it could be typical of other professions too.
We can take that down. If I may approach, Your Honor?
And I
Yes.
don't think that some victims should get treated
You're
better than others, but I do think it could happen. And I do think there are investigations where at some point they look at the case and go, all of the I's, all of the
Did
T's.
you ever
all of the
draft a
extra
report
steps.
yourself documenting the recovery of those 6 items and the other 14 items that you said that you found on the same date, February 10th?
I did not, no.
Did you leave that assuming that Trooper Proctor would document that?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
I'll ask it another way if I can. Did you believe that you didn't need to write a report, Sergeant, because Trooper Proctor would take care of that?
I knew that it would be documented. It was already documented on the actual bag as far as.
What? I'm backing this up. Also, to all of you in the chat who said, it seems like nobody cares. It's real. It's weird. It's real weird. And I'm trying not to read more into it because I know there's a lot going on socially outside of this case and on social media. And I don't know if that's impacting the way the witnesses testify or not. So I'm trying to reserve my own personal judgment, but I can imagine that the jury doesn't have context for why nobody seems to give a shit. But the jury has heard about harassment. So I don't know, but I really want to hear how he's going to say that because it's documented on the bag, that that's okay. That's documentation.
Yes.
I think I went back too far in my ranting. I'm sorry. Not writing a report. Come on. I also see my friend Hoglaw in the chat. Hi, Hogan.
Draft a report yourself
I'm angry this
documenting the
morning.
recovery of those 6 items and the other 14 items that you said that you found on the same date, February 10th?
I did not, no.
Did you leave that assuming that Trooper Proctor would document that?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
I'll ask it another way if I can. Did you believe
Well,
that
he's
you
the
didn't
case
need to write
agent.
a report, Sergeant, because Trooper Proctor would take
It's a
care
fair
of it?
question. He's the case agent.
I knew that it would be documented. It was already documented on the actual bag as far as who collected it, when, where, what it was, and a report eventually would be authored on it.
But the where, for all these very intricate pieces, the where is left to 34 Fairview. Is
A report would eventually be written.
Objection.
I'll allow it.
that right?
That's what it says.
The general vicinity location of the other items collected and documented with photographs was consistent with the same locations this was collected.
That's not an answer. Don't you see why it matters? How do you not see why it matters? I'm talking to the witness. How do you not see why it matters that apparently this taillight shattered across time and space? Where pieces are found matters. Where was the hat in relation to the victim? We don't know. There's a picture of snow. How do you not see that it matters? I think you do know it
I want to
matters.
shift gears for just a second.
And you were trying to not. Hey, Rob, good to see you in the chat. If I missed you earlier, I'm so sorry.
I have a question about that item.
We have lots of friends here today. General vicinity.
Based on the documentation that you just mentioned, that it's documented on the bag, and if the bag is presented to the crime lab on on March 14th, some 5 weeks later, those items were completely unaccounted for from a log standpoint for the entire time from when they were collected until they were booked at the crime lab, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. Ask it differently.
Possession of those items, of those fiber.
Where'd they go?
Are you talking about the items that were just displayed on the screen?
I am, sir.
I did not.
Now I'd like to shift gears to
Yeah, where did the item from the 10th go?
a ring video that you saw yesterday.
The jury has to listen to the testimony. You get to listen to the testimony and me. Yay for us. Or not, depending on how you're feeling in a given day. But generally, when things are logged into evidence, and he talked in direct examination about the evidence personnel and the evidence personnel having the only access to the evidence room, and it's logged and it's locked and it's taken care of. And that's the general procedure, that when you recover evidence in the field, you go back to the station, you take it to the evidence locker, and everything is logged in by the evidence personnel. And depending on the department, sometimes it is the officer that brings it in, that logs it into the computer system. It just depends. And then it gets placed in the evidence locker. That is locked up, and very few people have access to it. It's because chain of custody matters. Where these things go matter. You have to be able to say that the thing that was recovered off the lawn is the same thing that went to the lab, is the same thing that went to court, and there was no fuckery in between. Locking it up is one of the best ways you can do it, to show that there's no fuckery, because then you can bring in the people from evidence, and then there's video of the evidence locker, and you can be like, look, no fuckery when it comes up. But not knowing when the evidence went from the road into the bag, into the locker, is a problem. And it seems that from February 10th, from the defense's cross, this may change on redirect, but from February 10th to March 14th, where is the documentation that where that evidence was kept? Because the lab gets it March 14th, but where is it in between then? And that's what he's asking about. And this witness doesn't have a lot to say. Other than, I don't know.
It's in Exhibit 6, video number 153.
For all of you asking if
That may
the
mean nothing to you.
if the
It's
evidence, if the witness is medicated to stay
5:07
calm, he's a
video
former
of
Marine. I'm sure he's
car
just,
pulling out of the One Meadows garage. Do you remember that video?
I do.
Okay. You indicated yesterday on questioning.
Now we're to the ring
under
video.
Questioning by Mr. Lally that
oh, the
Ms.
hitting of the
Reed's
car
came close to,
or hit.
came in contact with, or close to.
Yeah.
Coming in contact with the other vehicle, the Traverse, in the video. Is that right?
That's what
The
she
video,
said. That's what you said.
as I watched the video,
That's what
I
she
observed the vehicle come near Mr. O'Keefe's car.
Okay, that's what I want to talk about.
That's what you said.
With the court's permission, maybe.
I think this is good use of this witness for the defense. But it's a double-edged sword too for the defense, because the defense is going to say this witness sucks essentially, but then they're using this witness to tell the jury that John O'Keefe's car is hit. The jury gets to decide for themselves. They don't have to believe this witness or not, or they can believe part or none. But God, this is making me feisty. Okay, we're going to keep going.
Okay, can you just play that for a quick second? No, I'll ask you to pause it. Pause. Does that appear to be, I'm just pausing it in the first 2 or 3 seconds, does that appear to be the video that you saw yesterday?
It appears that way, yes.
Okay. Mr. Bates, if you could enlarge.
And you guys get to decide what you see. The jury gets to decide what they see.
Rear tire
So take a look and see what you see.
of the Traverse. I'm going to ask you, sir, if you'll pay close attention to what's been zoomed. And when the SUV gets close to it, I'm going to pause it and ask you another question. Can you go ahead and play this?
Your Honor, I want to object to this.
So why don't we?
Lally is objecting. I wonder if it's because of the way it is enhanced. Let's see what the judge has to say. Oop.
Pause the screen.
Your Honor, I want to object to this.
So why don't we pause the screen, take it down, and I'll see you at sidebar.
I imagine it's because of the way that it's enhanced. However, this witness testified yesterday that he saw it come close to or hit the SUV. This I will zoom through. Again, it can be left for argument, but I'm interested to see what the judge does because it Lally inquired about it. So he asked about it first, Lally. All right, they are coming back.
I'm going to try to situate myself where I'm out of the way. If we can have the lights dim, Your Honor.
Also, the enhancement could add pixels to things, and the judge didn't allow the enhancement. The jury will get to sit and look at this up close, but it's whether it moved or not, so I don't know if that's that much of an issue, but the judge thinks that it is. Those are things that should have been cleared because they're going to get to watch it. The enhancement is the issue, you guys, not the video. It's the enhancement of the video.
Okay, go ahead and
enlarge
the rear area.
Oh. I withdraw everything I just said. Emily, keep watching.
Pay special attention to that wheel and any movement.
Forget everything I said over the last 30 seconds because she allowed it.
Okay, pause it. Okay, in about the next 3 seconds, Sergeant, I'm asking you to pay special attention to the wheel. Go ahead.
Yeah, it looks like it moves.
We can have the lights on.
It looks like it moves to me with the enhancement or without.
Sergeant,
Not
were you able to
much,
see that,
but it looks like
video?
it
I know
bumps.
it's not the clearest thing in the world. Were you able to see that video okay?
Yes, I
What did
did.
you notice about the rear wheel of the Traverse?
Based on the motion in the shot with the snow falling, it appears that there is movement,
It moves.
but the video speaks for itself.
What would you assess based on
Yes,
the movement
sir.
of the rear wheel of the Traverse?
The video does speak for itself. It was bumped. It wasn't walloped, but it was bumped.
About whether or not the two vehicles came in contact with one another.
Objection.
Sustained.
Okay.
It's clear that it was hit.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Yes.
It is bumped. He saw motion. We saw motion. It was like bump, 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 bump. Sorry, that is a Reno 911 clip that lives rent free in my mind. But yeah, it's bumped. And again, when the jury gets their instructions, there is an instruction that says if there are two reasonable explanations for any given fact, you must pick the one that leads towards, and it will either say not guilty, innocent, some version of that language, depending on the jurisdiction. And so the jury is going to be left having to decide if whether the snow being clean near John O'Keefe's vehicle shows that her vehicle didn't crack its taillight then, because there are no taillight pieces on that video, it seems, near John O'Keefe's video. But I did forget the kickball change. I was trying.
I'm trying to use my time wisely, Your Honor.
Alan taking digs at the prosecution in open court. Sorry. Oh boy.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm trying to use my time wisely, Your Honor. Yesterday, Sergeant, you were asked about a couple of videos related to the Sallyport garage. Do you have that in mind?
Can we talk about why? Yo, Canton PD, my shit is flipped. Can we talk about why that video looks so flipped? Because it looks flipped. Some of you will get that reference, and I appreciate you.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, we watched one of them pretty specifically toward the end of the day yesterday.
There's one that's so dark I can't see it. It looks like a horror film.
About the one that is the clearer of the two, where you slip. You remember that one?
If you pull it up, I can.
I will in just a second.
Okay.
There was one where Mr. Lally paused it and you were slipping in front of the vehicle.
It did look slippery.
I don't recall myself slipping, no, but
We do.
it was icy that day. So if there's documentation of me slipping, I might have happened.
Fair enough. I didn't
He's not trying to roast you on this, sir.
mean anything by that other than that was a moment that I thought you might recall to differentiate.
Ruthie Robles in the chat.
It's
Thank
Exhibit
you.
446, but I don't think that's going to help you. All right, let's see if I can do this another way. Did you actually personally go to Canton,
12.
Canton PD, to retrieve any or all of the videos of the Sallyport? You yourself?
I did go to Canton and
We're going to talk about that in a bit.
collect already extracted video,
Okay.
but it was a portion of video surveillance. I didn't collect all of the video, so
When was the most recent time that you went to Canton to collect a portion of the video?
I don't remember.
Okay.
I don't remember. I'm sorry.
Did you review well, let me ask it this way. Did you collect a video that was sought on or about April 23rd, April 24th this year, meaning just a few weeks ago?
Did I collect it?
Correct.
I did not collect that video of April this year, no.
You're aware that the
Who
video that
did?
you saw yesterday was in fact collected after the trial started in April of 2024?
Objection.
Sustained.
Are you
What? What now?
the video that you saw yesterday was in fact collected after the trial started in April 2024.
Objection.
Sustained.
Are you aware of when that video that we saw yesterday was collected?
Objection.
I'll allow that.
I am not aware.
Okay. Was yesterday the first time you'd seen that video?
No,
When had you seen that video previously?
a couple of weeks ago.
Okay. What were the circumstances in which you saw that video?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you have a meeting with the DA?
Objection.
Sustained.
Why? He's okay.
Did you ever have any kind of communication with Mr. Lally about your testimony?
Objection.
Sustained.
Can we approach?
Yes.
Yeah, because you're allowed to inquire. I'm sure Alan's approaching to find out from the judge literally why. Casey Cat, thank you so much for the very kind super chat. For Sunday, crack open a good bottle of whiskey and give a toast to my 68th trip around the sun. I'll be doing the same. I've got some watermelon whiskey here, so I will absolutely. And happy early birthday. I'm going to be trying to rest this weekend and prepping for what inevitably will be me getting my travel schedule all fucked up, because what are the chances that I am trying to get on a plane to go see Dave at Alpine while they're doing closing arguments? So I'm trying to shift around my travel. So I'm traveling at night. So if I need to stream from hotels, I can, because this trial looks like we've got about another week of the prosecution and then a week of the defense. So we're going to be doing closing arguments as I go to VidCon.
May I?
Yes.
And I don't want to miss a moment with
Sergeant,
y'all,
did you have any meetings or communications with Mr. Lally?
because I am invested at this point deeply, like more than in reality TV invested.
In anticipation of your testimony?
Of course he did.
Yes.
When was that?
It was about 2 weeks ago, and then last
then?
week, I believe.
And what was discussed? Generally.
Generally, we discussed the portions of the case that I would be presenting.
How is Lally
Did you write a
sleeping?
report about your communications?
Oh,
with
on the
Mr.
days
Lally?
off. He's doing this.
No,
on
I
days
did not.
off.
Were you shown any of the videos that you've seen here in anticipation of your testimony?
He just said yes.
Not during the first meeting. I did review a video during the second time.
Okay, and that video was that you
Was that
did see
one?
the second time was the interior video of the Sally Port that we saw yesterday, correct?
Taylor, I'm going to answer that when we have a moment.
I'm just trying to
'Cause I know
remember
the
exactly what video I saw. I had reviewed videos outside of our meeting, so I don't remember exactly what video Mr. Lally showed me.
But you do recall seeing the video that you saw yesterday, the sort of clear one that has the crime scene tape being put up and all that. You have seen that one before,
Yes,
and that was with Mr. Lally, correct?
that is not correct, because I do not recall when I saw that video or what video I saw with Mr. Lally.
I see. All right. I'd like to talk about that Exhibit 446 for a second, and then I'll show it to you. You indicated that the video all the videos, everything that you saw yesterday was true and accurate, correct? Based on your memory of the events that were memorialized in the video?
The video captures events taking place in an accurate fashion, yes.
In an accurate fashion. All right, that's what I wanted to find out. And after you watched the video, I think you were asked by Mr. Lally,
He dropped food.
does the video show you or Trooper Proctor having access to or messing with in any way that right rear tail light in
That's
any fashion?
compound.
And you said never.
So there's access to.
I was asked if at any point Trooper Proctor and I had came into contact, I believe, or touched the vehicle and that portion of the vehicle, and I said never. We never touched the vehicle.
At some point,
prior
somebody
to,
closes the door.
It being properly processed with a search warrant.
And that was specifically his question was to, and your answer was to the right rear portion of the video, right? That right rear tail light.
The right rear damaged taillight, correct.
Was With the court's permission, I'd like to play
Oh, he smirked.
a portion of Exhibit 446.
I'm dropping
Okay.
things. But when he said right rear damaged taillight, you guys saw it. I know you did.
Before we begin playing it, Mr. Bates, if you wouldn't mind, may I inquire, Your Honor, of the witness, just to lay
What's the
foundation
number
on
on the bay?
Sergeant, do you recognize this as being the video that we saw yesterday?
It does look accurate.
Okay.
Yes.
I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. This is 446, just so you have it in mind if I reference that. Space, if you could play that.
I've now got it in my notes that it's evidence item 446. We're all on the same page.
And I think it's runtime 120.
And yes, chat, we were talking about the number 4 yesterday and the writing on the police vehicle, which means that if it's mirrored, then it would be the driver's side, not the passenger side towards us, which is confusing.
Yes, I do.
Why would you do it that way? Why would it be exported that way? Why is it so blurry? I have so many questions.
Very briefly, if you could move to time of day, 5:37:05.
Oh, he's chewing ice into the mic. I've been trying so hard not to, Bukhenik. They are zooming. I think they're rewinding. Yep. Why is there so much snow in there already? For those asking, aren't the lettering on police vehicles normally flipped? That's on the trunk of that police vehicle, though.
Permission, can we play at this point?
Yes.
All right, that
Or at least it looks
shows
to be the trunk to me.
The vehicle coming into the Sally Port, and we're looking at which side of the vehicle?
So that is the driver's side of the vehicle. What that video depicts is a mirror collection. Although
Right.
mirrors are accurate representation of what you're seeing, it's just inverted. So that is the driver's side of the vehicle.
Say it with me, chat. Because I was inverted.
Do not know why it is inverted, but that's the way it was presented, collected and presented from Canton Police.
Can you see a timestamp or a time and date stamp? On the
Well, at
bottom
least
of
we've
that
cleared that
vehicle?
up.
I cannot know.
Okay. Does it appear?
Also, wouldn't it have been easier if the prosecution had just fucking asked yesterday? Why would that be so hard?
I cannot know.
Okay. Does it appear that time and date stamp, if you can't read every letter on it, that is in correct order? In other words,
Just make
that's
it
not
clear.
I cannot read it, no.
All right, let's go.
For all of you, it wasn't said at all yesterday. It wasn't even asked about. And I don't know if that's because Lally didn't even notice. I saw myself buffering, so I paused the video. Sorry, y'all. That seems to be on my end, not your end. All right, let's continue.
Do not know. I think that's the tow truck driver. He would have the only access to.
All right, he was asking when I buffered, he was asking who was that coming from the video?
Who is that just got out of the car?
I do not know. I think that's the tow truck driver. He would have the only access to the vehicle. We did not touch the vehicle.
Who's that on the left?
I missed it. I was looking down at the laser pointer. I do not know. I know for a fact I'm the gentleman that's wearing a dark olive drab state police baseball style hat, and Trooper Mike Proctor is wearing a winter hat.
Trooper Proctor's wearing what?
A
A
beanie.
winter hat.
Like a not a baseball
I
hat.
was playing and I didn't realize it was playing while you were talking. Stop. Move it further back. And stop.
For all of you saying he got
Yesterday,
out
when you testified,
passenger door, that's the driver's
indicated
side
that
facing
two
the
individuals
us.
in this scene were you and Trooper Proctor, correct?
That is
Not correct. There was 2 individuals in the rear of the vehicle I shined my light to. That was me and Trooper Proctor.
Do you see Trooper Proctor toward the back of the rear of the vehicle there?
I can't tell because of what the head is. I just know that Trooper Proctor was wearing a black hat.
Which the person in that, in the video to the left, to the rear of the car is wearing a black hat, correct?
I can't tell. I don't want to be locked into a statement where later on you show me that it's somebody else magically. I can't testify to that.
There's no magic about this. It's your testimony. I'm just asking you what you see.
I
He's like, I don't know.
don't see that. No.
Well, he was very honest about why he was like, I can't say that for sure.
Let's go ahead and play at this point.
Remember, the jury will have all of these videos at their disposal if they want to watch them. They will get to choose
You
that.
see the person toward the back of the vehicle walking toward the opposite side of the
There was just a
SUV.
head
I
right
do.
above the back of the SUV.
What area does he appear to be going to?
He appears to be going towards the rear passenger side of the vehicle, although it does not appear so because the video is inverted, a mirror image. That's where he's going.
And Sergeant Bukhenik, you testified for at least a half an hour about this video yesterday, correct?
Yep.
I'm sorry, it was a long day. I don't know the timing of how long I testified.
You significantly testified about this video yesterday, did you not?
I testified about this video.
And you testified that it was true and accurate, correct?
Correct.
And you testified that it was reflective of your observations of what was happening in that Sally Port that evening.
I mean, that can still be true.
I testified that this is a accurate scene and collection of video evidence from the Sally Port.
And as that truck sits in that Sally Port, just like this, it appears from all perspective that what we're looking at is the passenger side of the car, and that right rear taillight is right there shining in our face, correct?
And you never say.
From this perspective.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
From this perspective.
You know the
From the
question.
perspective that the jurors are looking at.
Okay.
From all indications, that would appear to be the right side of the truck, the passenger side of the truck, and that taillight that you can see is the right rear taillight from this perspective, correct?
The way it presents itself, yes.
And yesterday, during the entirety of your questioning by Mr. Lau, not once did you mention that this video is actually completely inverted,
I
correct?
did not know.
It's
Mr. Lau
flipped.
didn't ask you if
He
it was
didn't.
inverted, correct?
That's
He did
correct.
not.
And if I hadn't gotten up here and begun questioning you, that would be left
Unclear.
correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Calls for speculation.
The person with
The point's made.
winter cap appears to walk directly to the what ultimately should be the right rear taillight.
I will say
Correct?
the jury was I wonder if the jury was questioning it as much as chat was, because we had over 30,000 people in here yesterday. And all of you were like, look at the 4. It looks like it's flipped. Look at the lettering. It looks like it's flipped. It's weird because it looks like it's flipped. The prosecution makes it look worse by not addressing it. Even if it's just, hey, this is a weird system that Canton PD has, and somehow it puts the video out mirrored. It doesn't flip it in the software. It doesn't alter it in any way. This is just how it's recorded, or somebody, whatever. If they had just explained it, it doesn't look weird. But not explaining it looks weird, doesn't it? The lack of explanation is an issue because it leaves everyone to speculate. Is it inverted? Is it not? We don't know. We have no answers. It appears to be. Why doesn't Lally just ask? And I wonder if it's because he didn't notice or he didn't ask. It's just, again, the job of the defense is to poke holes in the prosecution's case. The job of the prosecution is to prove the thing beyond a reasonable doubt on legal, solid evidence. And when you leave holes yourself, it makes it easy for the defense to come in like a fucking wrecking ball and make those small holes bigger. And in a case where there aren't any holes except a video being flipped, a jury might not give a shit. But when you've got rehomed dogs and rehomed phones and butt dials up one side and down the other, every single additional thing just stacks up with questions.
That's
I'm
the
so
vicinity. Yes,
frustrated.
that's where he is. Yeah.
Why is nothing clear? 6 weeks. Ugh.
Pause it. I'd like you to pay attention to the right rear of this car. And I know we're completely backward, but it's the far
side
corner of the car. Do you see a person's head there?
It appears as if someone's still there.
And that person is located at or near what portion of the car?
In real life or as it's depicted?
Jesus Christ, you know what he's asking.
Is the person near
For the love of Dave Matthews, you know what he's asking.
Near the right rear tail light of the car?
Yes.
Matter of fact, standing there, hovering around there, correct?
We don't know the distance that they are in proximity to the actual vehicle. We just know that they're behind the vehicle. That
Looks like it's pretty close, doesn't it, Sergeant?
Objection.
Sustained.
Does that look like he's in close proximity to the right rear tail light?
As I said, I can't tell how far away he is from the vehicle.
His head's right there, sir.
He tried to clean it up today
Can't tell me
immediately.
it's right next to the right rear tail light?
Objection.
Sustained.
All right. I want you to pay attention to what that person does as soon as the other person comes out from behind that car. Keep you seeing moving. Stop it. Do you see that person move?
I saw movement
Another
in the
person
frame, yes.
appeared.
Right when the other person is in eyesight
There's no
of the
timestamp.
person toward the right rear, correct?
I mean, the video speaks for itself.
Yeah, it does.
No.
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection sustained. No commenting, Mr. Jackson. We've talked about that.
I'm going to ask Mr. Bates to back it up because
Excuse me, Your Honor. He's just a snarky guy.
there's one other issue I want you to pay attention to, if you can, right at this moment or right before this moment, and that is the timestamp. We back it up in maybe 10 seconds. Right about there. Don't play it yet. Instead of paying attention to the individuals, I'm going to ask you, can you see, may I approach the screen?
Where's the third person come
Can you
from?
see the timestamp at 5:37 and 37 seconds?
I don't see any time. Oh, there it
Can you
is.
see that from where you're at?
No, I cannot.
Thank you, camera operator.
Me neither. That's why I don't walk up to it. Let's play it for about 10 seconds.
Crystal, something that's probably true.
Pause it. Did
Yeah,
you
the
see
video
another
stutters,
person just appear?
but I can't see the timestamps from here either.
There was a fog of some sorts. It did appear as if a person was actually in. There was two people.
No. I've heard, well, from the commentary channels I watch that now cover things that are going on TikTok, because I don't generally go on TikTok because I do not have the time and I'm not caught up on the Valley yet and I can't get into TikTok. But I know that there is much going on TikTok with time travelers. And I am just wondering if maybe that is finally what we've seen here with the video stutters and people appearing out of thin air. Anyone? Maybe? I'm hoping that's the answer at this point. But the video does stutter. The videos are motion activated. It is possible. Look, I know everyone is going to argue that it is edited and this investigation is not good. I will just offer that it is also reasonable that because the other person was at the back of the vehicle so long and not moving, that the motion capture stopped and resumed as that person was walking. It is motion sensitive video. I would just offer two explanations. The three, time travel being the third. So that is what I'm offering. We will see what happens.
people back there. And two.
I'm going to back up because now we've lost the middle of his answer because I was talking so much about time travel. But the motion activated when that person clears the car and leaves, and the other person standing back there still, the motion capture might have stopped and then resumed.
Me neither. That's why I don't walk up to it.
Back to snarky guy.
Let's play it for about 10 seconds.
Because that person's pretty still. And then the next person walking might have been what caught the motion sensor. But then that person finally
Did you
moves.
see another person just appear toward the rear end of the car?
There was a fog of some sorts. It did appear as if a person was actually in. There was two people back there, and two people walked away, or one person walked away.
The timestamp jumped to 5:38:01. Correct?
I cannot see the timestamp, sir.
Okay. Did it appear that there was an anomaly? There was a portion of that video that was deleted. Or it's missing. Not deleted, but just missing.
It glitched, or it stopped recording and started recording. But if it was a smooth transition, they're going to need to bring in the person, I think, that operates these cameras. Would the timestamp jump like that if the camera was motion activated and stopped and then restarted? And I think that's a question that needs to be answered because there might be a reasonable explanation for it that's not fuckery, and there may not be. But I think either way, you need the person who maintains this system to come in.
Objection.
Can you tell that? Does it appear that way to you, Sergeant?
No, Your Honor, I cannot tell what is happening. With the
thank
video.
you.
If you take a close look at there's a classic police car in that Sally Port, correct?
There's an antique vehicle there. Yes.
If you take a close look at the trunk of that vehicle,
Yeah, the lettering's
see the word police.
It's backwards.
Yes, I believe I can read that. Yes.
And it's backward, correct?
It is mirrored, correct.
That's a good indication that this is an inverted video, right?
It appears that way, yes.
And the number
If we were
4.
to fast forward at 5:42.
Oh, chat, I just saw 2 of these questions in the chat, and I want to make sure I mention specifically. It does appear that the mannequin is wearing an orange shirt. That is not the victim's shirt. The victim's shirt is completely cut, and there's no way it would stay on a dummy like this. It does appear to be an orange shirt. There is no way anyone's going to convince me without, a ton of direct photographic evidence that is anything other than a coincidence, because that shirt we have seen the condition of, and it is cut and damaged. This shirt on the mannequin is not. That is not the victim's shirt. But I do like getting to watch the video multiple times because it is, you can only watch so many people do so many things at once. Also, for all of you that are saying, how could he not see the timestamps? I can't see these timestamps at all.
Not another 20 seconds, Mr. Booth. There you go. Can we just play it at this point? No.
They're going to let it play through.
Pause it. You see the Sally Port garage came down?
I did
Yes.
see
You
that.
see a number on the garage?
I do.
Is that correct?
What is correct?
Does the number appear correct? How do you make it 4?
No, the number's in the mirror image, yes.
I just wanted to make the point. Everything in this video is completely backward, correct?
It's not backwards, it's mirrored, reversed. You can look yourself in the mirror in the morning, you still see your own face. It's not backwards.
But my mirror image is not an accurate depiction of who I am. My
Check.
actual physical appearance is who I am, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
A mirror image, Sergeant, is
AJ, there is so much stuff in this case I don't know if this is the thing you want to keep fighting this witness on. There is so much. There are some mountains that don't, or molehills that don't need to be made mountains. And arguing about whether a mirrored image is accurate or not, I think not being disclosed that it's mirrored is not a good look. But it doesn't mean that the things in the video aren't the things that happened. You're just viewing it differently. It's hard. So I don't know if this will be well taken or if this is pushing too hard.
Face. It's not backwards.
But my mirror image is not an accurate depiction of who I am.
I should argue this is why I can't get my eyeliner even.
Appearance is who
Because
I
I'm
am,
in the
correct?
mirror. 'Cause I'm in the mirror.
Sustained.
A mirror image, Sergeant, is not an accurate video of this, is it?
Objection.
It's a mirror image by definition.
Sustained. Ask it differently, Mr. Jackson.
Your Honor, thank you. I don't think I need to.
It's not how we would perceive it.
I would like to mark I have a
I'm going to use this defense when I can't get my eyeliner right.
Wait.
We definitely talked about the jumps yesterday.
that I'd like to have marked with the court's permission.
The issue is that this witness, and Alan has made this point like 4 or 5 times now, that the witness said it was accurate and never mentioned that it was flipped. Yes, I agree that that's the issue. That is the issue. That the witness said it's completely as is, and the impression was left that we were looking at the passenger side. That is the problem. But he has pointed that out multiple times. So the
Does
witness
Mr. Lally know what's on this thumb drive without you telling us?
I do not.
The witness's testimony is misleading.
We can approach and I can certainly bring it up.
I agree.
We're trying to wrap up our morning.
It's,
It's marked for identification.
if I may, Your Honor, I'd like to play the first 10 seconds of that video.
Well, Mr. Lally needs to know what it is.
It's marked for.
You can't just show it. I wonder if he's flipped it. Emily, don't sing Missy Elliott. Now is not the time. Now is not the time. I wonder if they digitally flipped it. So he might have. All right. Oh, this is a long sidebar. I'm going to keep zooming. We'll have plenty of time for questions afterwards, and then we'll premiere the podcast after. Court is probably almost done in real time. But we've had lots to discuss today, and we have a half day. So now it doesn't feel right if I don't stream for like 4 or 5 hours. You know, whenever I talk to content creators, they're like, I make long form content too. 10 minutes. I just kind of go, oh, that's right. That's generally what is considered long form. Oh my goodness. Thank you all for singing Missy Elliott in the chat. Chat is Bay and Wise. Oh, and the court just ends for the day. Fantastic. This is not going to be resolved in this moment. Good.
I know that you want to know.
Everyone wants to know what's on the thumb drive, Your Honor, and the schedule. Can you give me the schedule? Do I have to change my flights for Alpine? It's really just what I want to know at this point. No court tomorrow, chat. Tomorrow's a full day off.
You are unmuted.
Panic, we're going to have you come back on Monday. So we'll just wait. Jurors, I know that you want to know when this case is going to end, and I don't mean that in any negative way.
Jurors, you want to know if you are going to be here for the rest of time. I'm hoping the court will get into scheduling. Excuse me, though, Your Honor. I'm going to need you to keep your voice up because I can't hear you. So I'm going to gain this up as much as I can because the judge is leaning over to the jury, but not into the microphone.
After speaking with the lawyers, I can safely say that you will get this case for your deliberations sometime the last week in June. We'll know better next week. We will not be in session next Tuesday. We will go full days, Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday next week. We will not be in session next Tuesday. All right, I have to give you those cautions.
She looks
again.
miserable.
Please do not discuss this case with
Last week
anyone.
of June. So
Don't do any
VidCon.
independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. It's a great weekend. We'll see you Monday.
All rise to the jury.
All right. No
You
court
are
next
muted.
Tuesday. Full days every other day next week. So we will be here together. And I imagine we're going to go through the prosecution and maybe, if we're lucky, get into the beginning of the defense case. And then the next week is going to be the defense case and then closing arguments. Oh, which are going to be either Friday or Monday. Which means I need to change flights. And then I need to fly out at night. Am I just making my schedule with 30,000 law nerds? Yeah, I am, but we're gonna figure it out because I'm invested and we're not going anywhere.
All right. So I received a motion from the Commonwealth this morning that I have not had an opportunity to
Mr. Lally, what motion?
read yet. It's on my desk. I'd like to go spend a few minutes looking at that and come back out at 12 o'clock on that.
Oh, we're coming back?
For us to argue it?
Yes. Do you need?
I haven't looked at it either.
Okay.
We've been busy.
All right.
That's 45 minutes from now. I can talk for 45 minutes.
Could we do it on Monday?
I want to get as much evidence in as we can each day. We can do it at 8:30 Monday morning, I think. Madam Court Reporter, can we do it at 8:30?
Can we do it now?
Yeah. Jim?
Sure. Absolutely fine with us.
I vote for now.
Can we do it at 8:30 Monday morning?
If that's what the court wants, yes.
Yeah, we'll have a hearing on it at 8:30 Monday. Are you around tomorrow? Are you around tomorrow?
Oh, am I? Yes, absolutely.
Do you want to do it tomorrow morning?
No.
If I had a preference, I would say Monday.
All right, we'll do Monday morning at 8:30.
I'm sorry. What was that?
Monday.
Okay,
And if you want to put something in writing, just email it to us this weekend.
will do.
Okay.
Thank you.
You know, he's like,
Just
no,
see
no, 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 no.
Rise to the court, please.
Okay. Well, I guess that you're right. It is already noon on the East Coast. I guess that they are going to argue early Monday. We will still come back. Maybe I'll come back about 15 minutes earlier on Monday. Miguelina, let's have a chat about that later. About coming back coming back right at 8, because that should give us time to catch up on the arguments on Monday that apparently we're going to hear. Oh, what a day. I'm going to try to summarize it real quick. And then we are going to go to your questions. And then we are going to talk about the scheduling for next week. Y'all are going to need the app. We had some app updates going on today that the team thankfully did not bog me down with. But then when I was like, why isn't this going out? They're like, there were updates. Don't worry. And I was like, okay. Can we see the motion? No. Lally submitted the motion. If you are not in person, I imagine some of the networks will have it later today. And if we do, I will update it in the app, because we also have the podcast premiering today. We've got no court tomorrow, which is going to be like a rest and research day for me to catch up on the other cases that I am covering, because I very much A, need to catch up, and B, start to prep for what's going to be busy days of travel amidst trial. Why do the trials always coincide with the Dave Matthews Band tour schedule? Why? They're always in the summer. The televised trials that we want to cover seem to always be in the summer. I think I've been in trial in June for the last couple of years with y'all, but it gives us something to do in the summer, doesn't it? I imagine that they're going to be, I wonder if they're going to be arguing over Proctor. That'll be interesting, because the motion came in this morning and they're trying to get everything in with Bukhenik. Nikki said, Emily, have you ever seen a case with this many issues actually go to trial? Not that I know of or remember, especially with the federal investigation. The fact that this went to trial with the federal investigation looming when both parties, prosecution and defense, asked for it not to, is bananas to me. It's bananas to me. Let's do a summary and we'll go from there. When does the Baldwin trial start? July. July. It's a good thing that my husband's summer break and my kids' summer break all aligned, because I am here with y'all. So Thankfully, everyone in my family is very patient, and we will take advantage of the days off. This court has had a lot of days off. There was a week off in the middle of Depp Heard. There were 1 or 2 days off during Murdaugh, to the best of my memory, but Baldwin's probably going to go straight through. Like Gutierrez went straight through. Baldwin's going to be really busy between now and then. The litigation in Baldwin is going to just skyrocket, especially because the prosecution's trying to force Hannah to testify, but we'll talk about that in a minute. The Kohberger stuff is going to continue to push. It's by the time Kohberger goes to trial, that trial will probably take 3 or 4 months. Y'all, after this trial and after Baldwin, some of y'all are going to be like, Emily, what do we do when we don't stream trial every day? And I'm going to be like, we sleep and we eat well and we, work out and we sleep. And then when we get into the Kohberger trial, y'all are going to be like, girl, what are we doing? I'm like, I don't know. We're here for clear the calendars for the next 4 months. That case is going to take forever. But the days off are helpful because I have to, there's things that one needs to do before going to events. Nails, brows, things. Let us swoop and do a summary of today. Day 21 of the Commonwealth versus Karen Read. The entire day was taken up with Trooper B, Sergeant Bukhenik, which is how he pronounced his name. How he pronounced his name when Alan Jackson started cross-examination today, which actually surprised me. He had said Bukhenik, and he's like, no, Bukhenik, and then kind of smiled, and Alan was like, I'll try. That was probably the most pleasant exchange they had during the cross-examination. They cross-examined Sergeant Bukhenik about the Ring videos because during direct examination, there was a lingering thought that Ring videos were missing. We do not have someone from Ring coming in. All of those warrants were seemingly written by Proctor, but it seemed that there were portions of Ring videos that we didn't see, including Karen Read coming back to John O'Keefe's home after being at 34 Fairview, sometimes after midnight. The prosecution said, is the video before it, the friend whose last name started with a C, picking up his daughter? Yes, it is. And the video after it is this, which is lining up with the known timeline. So there was no video of Karen Read returning back to O'Keefe's home. Then there's no video, they say, of Karen Read showing Carrie Roberts and Jen McCabe the taillight at the back of the home. But you saw them all get out of the car and go right in. So I don't know if they went back out and were doing that. It is unknown, but it seems that they assumed there would be other video of that and there was not, or it didn't happen. So they talked about moments of Ring footage that they expected to see and didn't, but then talked about, the question was asked about whether Ring footage could be deleted, and he was saying that they didn't have the logs on that. But then on cross, Alan Jackson brought out the search warrant return. The search warrant return is law enforcement telling the court, because search warrants are signed by judges, law enforcement telling the court, we requested these things, we received these things. There is a paper trail of those warrants. And in the search warrant return, it said that they received the Ring account data, video data, and access data and access logs. Who logged in and when? Was anything deleted? Even though Trooper Bukhenik was like, Bukhenik said, I don't know if we received those because the search warrant wasn't returned to him. It was returned to Proctor. And if it was all returned in a drive and Proctor only downloaded the videos and not the rest of it, it's a problem. There's a lot of things that are a problem. I don't know if this will be the biggest problem, but it's a problem. So after the Ring video, towards the end of cross-examination, which is not complete yet, there was a very long back and forth about the video in the Sally Port at Canton PD. Because yesterday, the chat was like, this shit's flipped. Look at the 4 on the bay. Look at the writing on the back of the cop car. This video looks flipped, like we are looking at the driver's side of Karen Read's car and not the passenger side of Karen Read's car. But it was never asked in direct examination. Not once. So when cross-examination starts about the video in the Sally Port, it's one of the first things that's asked. And Alan Jackson asked a lot, actually, and throughout the cross-examination. But you said this video was a true and accurate representation of what you observed. But it would seem to the eye, without explanation, that we're looking at the passenger side, not the driver's side. And you never corrected that. He's like, no, I didn't correct that. So Jackson pointed out frequently that it leaves the wrong impression that they are looking at the passenger side of the car, not the driver's side of the car, because it was never asked on direct examination. And the officer didn't offer it when saying, is that a true and accurate representation of what you saw in the Sally Port? He never said it is a mirror of what happened. So we're looking at the driver's side of the car. That was never elicited until cross-examination, which Alan Jackson pointed out multiple times. So when you see people walking around the back of the car, they're walking around the passenger side back of the car, not the driver's side rear of the car. Other things were pointed out as well, like something new to me. No reports were written about the evidence collected from 34 Fairview in February, particularly February 10th and 18th. Pieces of taillight were continued to be picked up from 34 Fairview, and they were logged on evidence bags, but no report was written about them until this year. No, that's not true. Until 2023, November of 2023. No report other than what's on the evidence bags regarding all those days they stopped by Fairview and picked up additional pieces of plastic until November 2023. But what we also learned on direct examination is that they did recover John O'Keefe's hat from the snow. I don't know why we got this long in trial without hearing that, but they did recover John O'Keefe's hat in the snow. The photos don't establish where in the snow it was. It just shows a hat in the snow. But it doesn't show how close it is to the fire hydrant, to the flagpole. Nothing is measured. So it's really hard to have an orientation of where things were located in relation to where the victim was when you don't have even an establishing photo. We already know there's no measurements from like the curb line. But not even a zoomed out photo of this is the overall of the lawn. This is why people use evidence markers, because if you have that yellow flag, you can take a wider shot and see the yellow flag and then zoom in on the evidence marker. Or have someone stand there or something. The investigation continues to frustrate me beyond. And at the very end of the day, the defense had a thumb drive and was going to show it. And the prosecution was like, I haven't seen what's on that. I have to wonder if the defense flipped the video back, which wouldn't be hard to do and wouldn't alter the video. It would just change the perspective. So we'll see if the defense shows that on Monday. And we also heard that the prosecution early this morning filed a motion regarding something, and that motion will be argued Monday morning before court starts. I will be covering that if it is streamed when we resume court on Monday. No court Friday. Next week's schedule, full day Monday, no day Tuesday, full days Wednesday through Friday next week. The court is trying to get all of this evidence before the jury and have them deliberate the case by the last week of June. That's what she said today. She seemed a little defeated about that, though. The judge did not seem optimistic. I am trying to be optimistic, but I do have some obligations the last week of June, so it's going to be very interesting for all of us, but we will do our best. What are the chances this verdict comes back while I'm at VidCon? I'm feeling like it's high at this point. If I start streaming in the middle of my VidCon panel about something completely other for this verdict, it's going to be wild, but you never know. Am I bringing my entire streaming setup with me everywhere I go the rest of this month? Yes. Yes, I am. So we will do our best. And of course, we've got the Lawnard app, and we will do our best to make sure you don't miss a minute, because I'm not gonna miss this verdict coming in. Are you kidding me? So let's get to your questions. Let's go. I see lots of you asking if I think that the motion is regarding Trooper Proctor. It may well be. I also see lots of you stating that Jackson said they would be calling Proctor after court. I try not to watch the things that go on after court because sometimes then I know too much, but I've seen all of you saying that. So we will see what happens. I don't know. Tina said, Emily, is it true that Proctor's attorney is a brother to the judge? I don't know if that's true or not. That seems like it would be a big issue. Magical Mary said probably graduations for the jury tomorrow. It is graduation season. That wouldn't surprise me. The court could have things going on. We don't know. So we do have notifications going out from all of our team members. I always put an EDB when I'm sending it out. We just had a few issues with the app today because we did, but I'm going to change my flights and called it. Yeah, court gets spicy when I travel. I'm going to see if I can fly late nights. So travel plans are my favorite. We're going to do that after the podcast premieres today. You guys don't want to miss the podcast today because, we're talking about Courthouse Becky and we all need to talk about different fuckery in a different state. And oh boy, is there fuckery. So we're going to talk about that. Susan said these investigators make SLED look good. There were times I had issues with SLED, but not as many. I was talking to a friend yesterday, and they've worked with somebody I did not work with at the DA's office, but the LA County DA's office is like, it used to be thousands of attorneys. It's less now, but it used to be over 1,000 attorneys when fully staffed. And one of the attorneys within the office that we have mutual friends with has worked in DA's offices across the country and had regularly said, look, I know you guys take issue with some of these agencies sometimes and some of your colleagues sometimes, but these are the best attorneys and officers I have worked with, and I have worked in a lot of jurisdictions. And I was always like, yeah, but it's LA. Like, LA's had some shit. And then I start watching trials from all across the country. And I'm like, oh. I don't think I've ever heard a lawyer say what, if any, in any cases I watched of my colleagues ever. And if they did, it might have been once and it didn't even stand out. I just am constantly blown away. But I think that this is the reason that having cameras in court is so important. I think it's important we understand what's going on in our courts, but I also think it's important that we see what goes well and what goes wrong, because I think both are important. When things go well in court, I think we need to look at it and be like, how can we make sure that things continue to go well in other courts? And when things don't go well, I think we need to look at court and be like, what is happening? What is happening? Lauren in the chat said, Becky making us in South Carolina look bad again. Lauren, I'm going to respectfully disagree with you. I think Becky is making Becky look bad. I think that's it. I think Becky is making Becky look bad. I don't think it reflects on the state of South Carolina, which is where Charleston is. Charleston is lovely. I also wanted to go to Hilton Head and have not had a chance yet. Spicy Golden Retriever energy said Jailhouse Becky incoming. Jailhouse Becky loading. Jailhouse Becky loading. Let's see. Emily, Monday's motion is a renewed motion to dismiss defense expert Dr. Marie Russell. Okay, we'll take a look because I imagine Court TV and such have it. So we'll take a look. We'll cover it. If there's anything mind-boggling in it, I will put it in the app when I send you guys the messages. But we'll hear it on Monday. I'm not too fluffed about it at the moment. Victoria said, anyone notice that the shoe they showed on the pics of the crime scene had a black underside sole and the one they showed in court had a white sole? The pics I saw in the crime scene seemed like it had a white sole. That is the best of my memory, but I would have to go back and look. But the sole on the one in court was very clearly bright white. The ones in the video of the victim were very clearly bright white. So I will have to go back and look because the Nike in the crime scene photos was upside down and had snow on it. So I will need to go look. And again, this whole investigation just boggles the mind. Also, I will have the chat know. I'm going to make a note defending myself for a moment. I will let you know that we picked up treats for the squirrels separate from the bird feeder. So we have a little like corn feeder for the squirrels separate from the bird feeder because I went and stress purchased a new bird feeder yesterday for outside the office because it just makes me happy. So we did chat. You have been heard. The squirrels are now also well accounted for outside my office. So we're all good. Nita said, but I depend on trial coverage to study. Yes, I realize I body double with most of you all day long and I'm here for it. So we'll see. My mind can't see flip driver to front side. Blessed in Texas, my mind has a very hard time looking at that video because I don't have a mind's eye. I can't flip things around in my brain. So in my brain, I look at that car and I'm like, with the way that car is facing, passenger side. It's very difficult for me to rework it. And I just have to keep saying, they say it's the driver's side. They say it's the driver's side. That's not the side that the damaged taillight is on. But it's very, very difficult to me. I just can't. So I would need it to be flipped. So to the chat who is glad that the squirrels have also been accommodated, you are welcome. For all of you saying hi to the law nerds, it's so good to see all your member chats. Hi, will the defense have their own experts called? Natasha, yes. The defense will have experts. I imagine the defense will have probably a medical examiner, pathologist, coroner to talk about the injuries to the victim. Once we get the state's coroner, then that testimony will make more sense. I imagine they will have some kind of a tech expert. I imagine they will have an accident reconstructionist. I haven't looked at the witness list, but I will do that over the weekend and see who else they will have come in. But those are the top three that I am anticipating from the defense. Carolyn said, evening, Emily and fellow law nerds. We'll be heading to bed soon. Replay crew, good to see you. It's a school night and I don't want to be that cranky teacher tomorrow. Hopefully school is almost done, Carolyn. And yes, we all appreciate you getting a good night's sleep. I've been trying to do so. My Pokemon sleep has been telling me that I have been doing okay. Last week I was S tier though. But I did cheat a little bit on my Pokemon sleep. It happens sometimes. The Danish doll said, watching with baby Leonard, who's 11 weeks old, and love you. Love to baby Leonard. It is such a squishy, snuggly, sweet stage. Exhausting at times, but squishy, snuggly, and sweet. Emily said, I've gone from fascinated to furious about this case. Feels like the Commonwealth is fucking with us. There are days. There are times where Lally says things and I wonder if he just doesn't see the case the same way we do, because it's said with like a, well, obviously kind of a vibe. Maybe that's just me, but there's times he's like, and you didn't do this or that, or Proctor didn't touch the car. And it's like, well, obviously. And I'm like, I don't know if it's obvious to everyone, Lally. I mean, I just wonder if Lally's frustration with the defense is making it a little too close to the case for him to see that there are questions here raised that go beyond what's been explained by the Commonwealth at this point. The Commonwealth has explained, I think, not all of you agree, and that's okay. The jury gets to decide. This is why they deliberate. They discuss it at length. I think the drinks handed to Karen Reed were clear in the video. We will see if the receipts tie them in or not. If they don't, it looks real bad for the Commonwealth. So they submitted, it seemed like 2 receipts from CF McCarthy's and the receipt from the waterfall. Does that mean John O'Keefe was hit by a car? No, it doesn't. Does it mean that that there's video of the defendant being handed drinks and at some point pouring shots into them? Yeah. Does that go beyond a DUI at this point? Maybe not. So there's still so much left. And I'm still so frustrated by how much there is left. We should be done by now. Nuance says, y'all are keeping me company while I drive the last 7 hours of my 16-hour journey from Austin to Orlando. Well, congratulations on the drive. I hope you have fun in Orlando. Thank you to everyone who gifted memberships. Good super early morning from Alaska. That is a super early morning. I always try to give you guys and myself a little grace period on start time. But we know the mornings don't come in hot. It will on Monday, but They don't always. Pumpkin and Spice's mom says, happy to be starting off my birthday with y'all. Lots of birthdays in the chat. This trial's bringing a completely new meaning to God Save the Commonwealth. That's hilarious. Judy, you got this. Almost 2 years of the best community on YouTube. Judy, I can't believe it's only been 2 years. I feel like with our OG Law Nerds, I feel like you guys have been in the chat like the entire time I've been on YouTube, which is coming up on, oh my God, 2016, 17, 18, 19. Oh my God. 8 years? Coming up on 8 years this month since I posted my first video on YouTube. That blows my mind. Ooh, that sounds really good. Witless prosecution. Sipping Cafe Cubano. Bring on Trooper B. I'm gonna try not to go, because if I start calling him that, I'm not gonna be able to undo it. So good to see you, Christina. Just watched your stream with Dr. B on Black Friday. We started doing like a Friday night members only stream a while back during Thanksgiving, because it was fun for us and we are here. But you guys have been asking for more Dr. B streams. Don't worry, we'll bring on some more streams with more than just me in the members space, because we will. Jessica said, I've known him since the late 90s. He hasn't changed. I don't know if we're talking about the attorneys or Trooper B, but either way, good to know. Gifted 5 memberships. Thank you. Good afternoon from Germany with coffee and cookies. Sounds like a perfect afternoon. Sienna said, can you explain what happens in the case of a hung jury and the difference between one holdout versus split down the middle? Yes, I can. Also, what if there are only 2 or 3 in disagreement? Love your streams. So anytime a jury cannot reach a unanimous verdict, it is a hung jury. The jury has been unable to reach a verdict, and the case is declared a mistrial, and then the state can retry it, because even though jeopardy attached, it is not a final decision. It is a mistrial, and the state, Commonwealth in this case, can retry the case. The decision the prosecution has to make, if there is one, it depends on the split, and sometimes it depends on what the jurors say. Sometimes afterwards, jurors will talk to the attorneys. They are allowed to. It just depends on what they say. I had a case hang 11-1 for guilt, and some of the jurors afterwards were just like, that other juror was completely obstinate, wouldn't listen to us. We think your case is really strong. I don't know what they're thinking. But they said the same thing to the defense attorney, and we were able to resolve the case without a retrial, because all the jurors are like, we don't know what happened with that other juror. That juror's, but we're pretty confident. And that allowed the case to resolve without a retrial, because there was one holdout and the other jurors did not feel those were reasonable questions. When a case is more split, then prosecutors can choose. And that might be not calling a witness that they called. That might be resolving the case. That might be retrying it exactly the same way. So it really is within the prosecution's discretion on how they want to do that. But the court's response is the same. The court's response is to declare a mistrial, whether there's one holdout or it's split right down the middle. Hopefully that makes sense. Jocelyn says, Emily, how's much longer? We still have tech people. We don't have tech. We don't have car. We don't have any more Celebrate information that the prosecution said in their opening was coming about Jen McCabe. There's like a lot of evidence that can take a bit to go through left. For the state, I imagine, and we're 55 witnesses in, but we still have at least one Celebrate expert, if not more. We got to go through the defendant's phone, the victim's phone, or at least their phone motions, the defendant's car, and whatever data they have from the defendant's car. Like, what if any data from the defendant's car? There has to be some, because they talked about how fast she backed up at like 24 miles an hour. They have to get that data from somewhere. They can't just materialize it. Coroner, if they're going to do an accident reconstructionist, then we have to do that. So there's a lot left in this case. So Margaret said, how convenient. We saw a video of her, Jen, and Carrie at John's home. So weird. I smell fuckery. It is weird. It is weird. Emily, did you see Karen Reed mouth to her parents in court yesterday? No, Proctor, ever. That's what it seemed like she was saying to me. That's what it seemed like she was saying to me very clearly, but I don't know if that means the prosecution won't call them or the defense will. If the defense calls Proctor, it's going to be a real interesting day in court. Greg said, I'm sorry, no need to apologize, Greg. But the more witnesses talk, the more persuasive the defense theory becomes. We really might get to a state in this case where the jury is like, I don't know if the defense is right on, but also, I don't know what's up with this investigation. That's a very real possibility here. It takes a lot to convince a jury that everyone's in on it and everyone's lying. It doesn't take nearly as much to say that person lied about this, that person lied about this, the investigation didn't do that. How can you convict someone when there's all those holes? That's a lot easier. That's a lot easier argument to make to a jury. But we'll see what the defense brings in. You know, we've got glass on a bumper that doesn't match glass in the yard. We've got there's lots of things here that they're going to point to. My kid's personal Uber driver told my hubs all about this last night. 20 years. Congratulations and happy anniversary. Tall cocktails can be between 1.5 and 4 ounces of alcohol, depending on the bartender's sport. Yep. Ordering shots instead is a great way to monitor your own intake. 9 shots is only 4 to 5 cocktails of alcohol. JP, that is very helpful. And I think the receipt will help them on that. If Karen Reed was just ordering soda in the tall glass and then pouring in shots to moderate her intake, which is not a far off possibility to me, given that we already know she has MS. It's not odd that she would want a bit more control or a bit more knowledge of her alcohol intake. Hopefully the receipt clears that up for the jury. Also, I think what's clear to me is that whatever amount Karen Reed drank that night, no one perceived her to be super intoxicated. No one perceived her to be very under the influence. Could she metabolize alcohol slowly and her blood alcohol rose after she got back to John O'Keefe's home at night? Sure. Could she have gone back to John O'Keefe's home and started drinking then, which would completely throw off her blood alcohol when they took it at 9 a.m.? Could. I don't know how all of that's going to be resolved. So we'll see. Is there a job posting with MSP for a photographer? A lot of these photos, it seems, weren't taken by the crime specialists. I told you all about how I ended up with a case of pictures of droplets of blood, but the camera had black and white film in it because it was law enforcement that was trying to take the photo, not crime techs, because they couldn't always get crime techs out to the scene. You can't use your personal phone to take photos. And at that time, there wasn't really a personal phone that was going to take a photo. Mess. And the defense was like, what is this? I'm like, argument? Terrible photos. Karen Reed had access to the ring from the house computer. We know she had access to the computer room. So we don't know. Phone Carrie found on ground and gave to police. Yes, the victim's phone. The testimony was that the victim's phone was under him, but Carrie said she took the phone and put it in her pocket and then gave it to first responders. I don't know if first responders gave it to police and when and who and how it was maintained in between there. The chain of custody in this case is kind of a mess. Can evidence be thrown out if the defense proves it's contaminated? We're at the stage of trial where the arguments about evidence go to the weight of the evidence, not the admissibility. The weight of the evidence being how much credibility the jury gives it. The admissibility has already been decided by the court. These are all motions for motions in limine and motions to exclude. Those are all motions, argument over the warrants and such. Those would have all happened way sooner. But yes, they can. The defense can get up in closing argument and say, you can't trust any of this. You don't know where it was. And it goes to the weight and credibility the jury gives it, and they'll have instructions about that. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, that shirt was just sitting in some office for 10 days. How do you know what happened to it? And I think that's why the prosecution didn't make much over there being pieces of glass and plastic on the shirt. They really didn't question anyone about it much. What if the leaf blower blew the items away? Diane, it is a fair argument, but I think it's a difficult argument because if the leaf blowers could access things that were presumably under the snow to blow them, then how did no one see them? That would be my argument to that, but it's why it's a mess. Medical expert, ring expert, what if anything is Trooper B not an expert in? Crime scene photography? Maybe chain of custody. that too snarky? Maybe. 3-point turn into the fire hydrant, maybe. Baker Gwen, I don't know, maybe. It seems like fire hydrant damage would be lower on that fairly tall SUV, but the jury got to see the SUV at the crime scene. So the jury would get to determine whether that was a possibility in their mind. Do you think Trooper B has a lawyer with him? Has his lawyer with him? I don't know. Nobody asked about it. It's possible. Or they are watching it streamed. Thank you so much, Otter. I don't know what is being voted on Sunday. Oh, for the EU law nerds. I was like, my brain was like, don't we do that on Tuesday? Thank you. Margaret said the evidence is sus. They're hoping it sounds more credible with Detective B. It doesn't, or Sergeant B. It doesn't. I have not looked at this. This is not in evidence, but they didn't take anything back to Dighton PD. They took everything back to Canton. So Liz said, do you think we will see a forensic accountant testify? In this case, no. I don't think we will need one. But, CEG Murdaugh. You made me fall in love with law and I'm pursuing forensic accounting degree. That's so cool. Forensic accounting is really cool. For those inclined towards numbers, it's very cool. Casey Cat said, remember back to the days of old when we were young and so impressed that we played this guy's creds more than once. I know. I was like, all right, look at you with all the experience. And then we got further along and I'm like, well, damn it. So, I go into everything hopeful and then we see what happens. Did you see someone slip a note to the man in the blue shirt in the gallery as they went up to sidebar? The man in the blue shirt is the victim's brother, and I did not see that, but he's already testified. So we did see pictures of the hat. So they didn't clear all the snow, just the areas that had taillight pieces. It doesn't make sense. The other snow would be distributed as they were looking through it. And we saw all that testimony about them shoveling out the snow all in that area. I agree with you that it doesn't make sense. My autofocus now hates me. I've now broken the autofocus. Hello? Can we resume focus, please? Thank you. Mama Mima said, I rewatched some testimony last night, and at the end of testimony, we saw that from Karen. Yes. High winds didn't move the straw. Well, if it was under snow, maybe not. If they didn't test the straw, I'm giving it absolutely no. Personally, I'm not telling you should. If they didn't test the straw, it is not going to be super relevant to me, honestly. Is the taillight the smoking gun for the Commonwealth? They think it is. They're like, look, the taillight was broken. All of you who have driven for any amount of time have sat in this chat week after week after week and said, how does going 24 miles an hour with somebody with a head injury, which is about all we know of the victim at this point, break a taillight so that it shatters across an entire yard? Like, how is that possible with physics? And all the witnesses said they saw it cracked or a small amount missing. I just don't know. Kelly Mack says, if Karen Reed is found guilty, will the Waterfall restaurant be charged retroactively with over-serving? I don't think so. The Waterfall only served her one drink. B, on all that video, she does not have visible signs of intoxication the way that might be an issue for a restaurant. For any of you in the chat that have worked in food services, when you watch those Waterfall videos, everybody seems like they're having a good time, but nobody seems particularly stumbly intoxicated. Everyone probably shouldn't have been driving. They'd all clearly been drinking, but nobody seems overserved in the way that a restaurant would be like, ooh, what we're not going to do. Scattered Sunshine said, are you liking your e-notebook? I am loving it. I am obsessed with it. I wish I had it sooner, and I will give you my full breakdown and other content at the end of this trial about what I thought. So George Moore said, are they saying the PD broke the taillight? That is the defense's theory. Mm-hmm. That is the defense's theory. So backing into the Traverse is interesting. Jim, yes, but it was a pretty slow, she was not going super fast. It definitely hit the Traverse. I don't know if it broke the taillight hitting the Traverse. Nobody ever checked the Traverse. But also, the jury will be told, and this is what I keep harking back to, The jury will be told if there's two reasonable explanations. So if the reasonable explanations that the jury has are that the taillight was broken on the Traverse or the taillight was broken at 34 Fairview, what are they going to pick? And just the way it's broken and the way it's everywhere is odd. So, let's see. Can we get a remarkable sponsorship? I have not asked. I wanted to use it. Look, most of the things in the sponsorship I used well before they even reached out. Sometimes sponsors will reach out and be like, "Do you want to try the thing?" I always say I will try the thing with no strings attached and then decide. And most of the time I say no. A few of the times I don't. So only things I think you will like. But I always say I need to use it first. And for me, I need to see myself continuing to use it. So like the Foreo product that I had on stream yesterday, I take it with me when I travel. I'm like, I'm mine. Like, I'm not going anywhere without this. I love it. And I'm not going to share something with you that I don't feel that way about. So yes, I do quite like the Remarkable. I have now collected all of the e-ink pencils and pencil grips and all the rest of it. So we'll see. Drea, we did get to some across today. I was pleasantly surprised. You saw my shocked face. Pleasantly surprised. Tina Roos says there has to be more efficient way to do this. There is. At this point, it feels like Lally is intentionally taking his time so that we don't get to cross. I understand the strategy, but damn, when would the judge step in? It seems like the judge keeps leaning on the prosecution to speed it along, and the defense takes the opportunity to say, I'm just trying to keep us moving. Trader Travels, my baby girl turns 21. Tell me it ain't so. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I would feel about that. But congratulations. And I hope you all get to go out for a lovely dinner and, have a wonderful time. So Dee said, EDB, loved your segment on Canton Confidential. Plus, you look gorgeous. Thank you. Dee, the members know the truth about the fact that there's only a few of us here. I forgot. On my calendar, still forgot. Sometimes calendars don't exist. This happens to me with medical appointments and other appointments too, because ADHD. So the day was busy and I forgot. So I took off my hair and was like, we're just going to go back with the hair and it's going to be fine. And it was fine on TV. I don't think it would have been as fine in real life, but it was fine on TV. I shared the link to that segment. I know the international crew can't always grab news here. I've been on before and I will share the link to that. I was on with Carson and Kennedy in Boston this morning, and we did a call-in segment. It's like making all my radio DJ dreams come true. I really enjoy Carson and Kennedy. And for the last 2 weeks, the song leading into our segment has been Despacito. So now I'm hoping that it's that song every day. But oh my God, can I tell you guys a story real quick? I promise then we're going to get back to Q&A. Hold on. We just, a brief story time. So when I was on Mix 105 in Boston this morning with Carson and Kennedy, the song leading into my segment, like yesterday or like last week, was Despacito. I'm on with them on Thursday mornings while we're in trial. I think they're great. As we were on break to go from talking about the case to go to a answering questions segment, the final ad was from Stop and Shop. I'm not joking. The last ad was from Stop and Shop, and it was for Stop and Shop's food program that they do over the summer, it seems, for kids, and making sure food is donated to local banks while kids are out of school. It was a very giving purpose. But the second I heard that it was a Stop and Shop ad, I'm like, stop it right now. Stop it right now. Stop it right now. But it seemed like their food program is wonderful. But I giggled. So wasn't it interesting? And those streams, so you can find those. So I'm surprised we got to cross, but anyway, let's get back to a few of your questions before I have to zoom and premiere the podcast. We'll give like a 15-minute, but we'll dump this chat can get redirected into the podcast. Coming in a bit late, but did any discussion on how the Sally Port was mirrored? I don't know if the original wasn't mirrored or if this is the original. So at the end of the day, yes. Prosecution treating Potter or Proctor like he's Voldemort. Yeah, it was very much he who shall not be named, which is why the defense is taking their time pointing out everything that Proctor touched. I'm having a hard time justifying where everything is as they stomp all over the place. I mean, Tracy, to be fair to you, you don't have to justify it. You have to understand it. And the prosecution at this point is not making it easy to understand. And I think the reason we're seeing so much discord on the internet is because people decided before the evidence came in how they felt about this case. The jury hasn't done that. They've been questioned to make sure they haven't done that. I can only imagine they're as confused as we are, because I came in wanting to understand. And my goal is still to understand. And I'm having a hard time understanding, truly, this case. So it is frustrating for sure. Please tell me drive-by investigation isn't normal. Aaron, they just were like, we'll keep driving by to see if we see anything. I don't know. Miguelina, thank you so much. That is perfect. I will make sure that works with the premiere being at 12:30. That'll give me time to grab some food and run to the bathroom. Lisa Marie in Tennessee. It seemed like everyone left with a traveler from the bars. Yes. Didn't Nicole Albert leave with a bar glass as well? I don't know. Where did the glass on the bumper come from, since it didn't match the glass found in the yard? I don't know. It matched one piece of glass found in the street, but we don't have much more information than that because Proctor collected that glass. So we don't really know. So, yep. Random girl said, why was Canton PD called about evidence instead of MSP? They weren't. From the evidence that we have, and it is in teeny segments, this evidence, that the chief of police was driving by 34 Fairview and saw something, and then troopers were called. So that. Running with scissors, did they need a warrant to take the phone and car, or can they, with reasonable suspicion and suspect's consent? This is a whole much longer discussion. In this case, I don't know what they did. They said they were seizing Karen Reed's phone and car. Those things have come into evidence. I assume if they did that without a warrant, there would have been motions about it. I don't know if there were motions. We will see if there were motions about it after this trial when we have a chance to go and look back. So I don't know yet. But there are some exceptions to needing a warrant, but I don't know if those apply here. So I don't know how they determined that Karen Reed was involved at this point yet. I still am unclear on that. Trooper Parker can't access evidence at the station. How and when did he go through Karen Reed's phone? I don't know when Karen Reed's, I don't know if he did that or if he was just joking with his friends that he did that. I don't know if that is, either way, it's awful. I don't know if he actually did it or not, or was just bragging to his friends. It's not better either way. Also, I don't know when Karen Reed's phone was checked into evidence. We don't have a chain of custody yet. How long did he have her phone for? We don't know. I don't have enough information. I have questions. I have very few answers. Snow is about the snow and everybody being at the bar. Brandy said, the pieces of taillight were found on the lawn, right? Some found in the street. No one ever saw her car on the lawn, correct? Only on the road, correct? So how did the pieces of taillight get all the way up on the lawn, but not on or near the road? I don't know. And there didn't seem to be, or nobody said that they saw tire tracks from a car going up towards the lawn, given the snow. And it seemed like at that point, there wasn't a ton of snow at that point at night. I'm wondering if the scene was secured overnight. Maples, no, it wasn't. It's a yard left out to the elements. Nope. Carly said, does anyone remember when Furman pled the fifth in the OJ trial? That's what this Proctor thing reminds me of. It's going to be interesting. Adam asked for EDB. Did cold calling in law school, the Socratic method, prepare lawyers for being on your toes in trial? Some, I think. It's different, but some, I think. Not every lawyer that goes to law school wants to go to trial, so I think some probably found it quite exhausting. I will say that I found myself better prepared than trials this is going to shock you, better prepared for my trials than most of the time I was in law school, because it took me all 3 years of law school to figure out how I needed to best prepare. It was much easier for me to prepare trial. It made sense in my brain. Trial is storytelling with evidence. Like, the rules of evidence are finite, and trial is telling a story. Storyboarding a trial was not hard for me. At the end, at the end, you have the jury instructions with the elements. I need the jury to understand these things. And to these elements goes this evidence. This evidence comes in with these witnesses. And you just work backwards from there. Jury instructions, closing argument, evidence, witnesses, opening. These witnesses are going to tell you this, and this goes to that. So that was much easier for me to prepare for than class. How to study for law school, I did not really understand well, and I never even thought to look. Now I would have. Now I would just YouTube it, like study methods for law school. But then I didn't. So it took me a bit more time. Grades were still good, but I also burned myself out. Didn't they illegally seize Karen's phone? I don't know. If it was illegally seized, I can only expect that the court would have kept it out of evidence. And maybe it is. Maybe we see nothing from Karen's phone. Don't know yet. Wouldn't that fancy car ding that it hit something? I don't know. We don't have any data from the car. So I don't know. Margaret said, did I hit him? That's the best we're going to hear, I bet. I don't know. Beetlejuice, I do not advise this. Prosecution hasn't made it clear drinking game. I don't advise that at all. I'm waiting for things to be clear. I don't know if they will. What if any cherry picking has happened in this audio clip? I don't know if that audio clip, you guys let me know. I don't know if that audio clip from Karen Reed helps the state. Do you? Do you think, or the Commonwealth, apologies, Massachusetts citizens, I don't know if that audio clip helped the prosecution at all. And that audio clip, the defense wouldn't have been able to offer. I'm actually quite surprised. I'm actually quite surprised that the Commonwealth offered it. Because what it says is, I had a cracked taillight and he was, I think she said pummeled. It's in my notes. The defense couldn't elicit that without her testifying. And the Commonwealth chose to put it in. And I am baffled by that because the jury wouldn't know it existed without the Commonwealth introducing it. And it was something like her saying, and it sounded to me like they didn't make it clear where it was, but it seems like this was after her indictment of second-degree murder. And she's saying, pulverized, thank you, chat. We're all in on this then, right? Like, you get the joke is what it sounded like to me. And then my taillight was cracked and John was pulverized. Why did they choose to put that in? Because isn't that the defense's theory of the case? That her car didn't do that? And isn't that what she's saying? She started the clip with, if we're playing the game, I think it's if we're all in on the joke. So that's what it sounded like to me, that she thought. She's like, this is all bullshit and this is a setup. Bridget Wainwright in the chat asked, can the defense now bring in the rest of the clip? If there is a rest of the clip, they should be able to. If they want to. For completeness, they should be able to. Let's see. Before that snippet, you can also hear that she said he was beat up by an Albert. I'm going to go back and listen to that without me commenting on it. But Lori Ann said this was audio from the booking room. Lori, they didn't say that in trial. I don't doubt that that's what it's from, but they didn't say that in trial. And I wish that it was clear, but it wasn't. And they probably can't talk about her being booked. So that probably won't come into evidence because it said a conversation with the defendant. That's all they're going to say. They can't talk about her being booked. Diana said, EDB, with your experience, can all these pieces of taillight spread that far? I need the data from the car. Because if this is at a slow speed, it's odd to me. It was windy that night and there wasn't that much snow, but was it that windy? I just need more information. I have seen stuff scattered, but those were very high speed collisions. where I've seen very large debris fields, but again, very high speed collisions and not motor vehicle versus pedestrian. Those were all multiple vehicles, which means you have a lot of force at play with multiple vehicles, or like a vehicle versus solid object, tree, wall, whatever. But I've seen big debris fields, but they're all fast, very fast. So at 24 miles an hour, I have questions. So, any mention of the victim's firearm? Don't off-duty cops carry concealed? Not always. But there's been no mention of it, but not always. So, but no mention of it. The audio is from body camera. Karen was arrested the second time on raised charges. And again, that probably won't ever come into evidence. The Canton memory loss syndrome strikes again, and it's interesting. Let's see. You missed the start of the quote where Karen Reed says Colin did it. I couldn't make out clearly the beginning. And the second time when I went back, I didn't hear the beginning. I will go back and listen to that at a different point. When AJ stood up for cross, they should have played the theme song from Jaws. It's funny. Hey, Dr. B, what's up?
Hello. I was anticipating you're on lunch break. Eating some food.
We're not. You're very kind. We're not on lunch break. Court is done for the day. I'm just wrapping up with questions, and then we're going to premiere the podcast. Did you not get your Lawnard app notifications, Dr. B?
Of course I did. I just haven't read it yet. They're at the top of my feed.
He's like, or whatever. I'm just teasing you.
Do you want to put together lunch for me?
No, it's okay. I'll be out in a minute as we wrap up questions. It's just hot. Is the air conditioning on?
Mm-hmm.
It's just hot. Okay.
Right.
Thank you. So, Ty said, I'm a natural skeptic, but how can I not be a little persuaded to even partly believe the defense prosecution has not met its burden? We're definitely not done yet. And I don't think we've gotten to the prosecution's burden yet either. I don't disagree with you. I'm trying to wait till the end of the case, but I am getting frustrated. But we will continue to see what the prosecution brings in. Steven said, Team Baker, Emily's saying she needs to be managed. I think Emily needs a private jet at this point just to get places when court's not in session. I'm teasing, Delta. I'm definitely not doing that. We don't roll like that, though. At some point, I just need to be able to teleport myself. Sarah said regarding her statement that this is a joke, her taillight is obliterated and John is dead. That was said sarcastically. I think she said her taillight is cracked and John is pulverized. Yes, there is video of her in the police station. If there is video of her in the police station, they will probably play it as audio, but the defense will have a right to play the whole thing. So we will see. And all of you have let me know about Jackson's interview after court. Thank you. The motion filed is the Commonwealth wants to exclude the hired expert from Los Angeles from testifying as to what I'm assuming JOK's injuries. We'll see. I will pull it. What is your e-notebook called? I did research on YouTube and got the Remarkable 2. I know there are others. Do you think an e-notebook will work well for someone who's left-handed? I know iJustine covered that because she is left-handed, but I've seen others cover it. I don't know why it wouldn't. But I would literally put that into YouTube and take a look. So I would look. Why do they not use heating devices to melt the snow to keep evidence in place? I don't know. I don't know at all. They've all said that they've only searched for people, not evidence in the snow. So we will see. But that taillight is very broken. And there are very many questions. Jolene said Alita also has a Remarkable 2. Yes. And I've learned so does Lawn Lumber. So, all right. With all of that, I am going to go because we have about 15 minutes before the premiere of the podcast. If y'all want to hop over into that chat, I'll be in that chat and we will chat about that case and probably about this case too. So I'll be in the chat with you in about 15 minutes. I'm going to go use the restroom and then I'll be back. So Lawnards, I'll see you in the chat. Remember, day off tomorrow, no court. Get the Lawnard app. It's what's going to keep you in the loop on all things, especially as my travel schedule gets weird. So this will keep you in the loop. And after the updates today, faster, I am hoping. So Lawnards, thank you for being here. Thank you for being a Lawnard. Chat is bae. And I will see you in just a few minutes. on the podcast.
You can stay up to date with everything I'm covering and fast notifications on our free iOS and Android app at lawnerdapp.com or search the App Store for Law Nerd. You can also follow me around social media, and don't forget to check out my podcast, The Emily Show, with quick bits dropping every Monday, summarizing everything I do here on the live streams on Tuesday and Thursday for when you just have time for the quick bits. Thanks for being a Law Nerd.